Jesus
Hi.
fucking Christ.
Okay, good start to our podcast.
I'm
Hi.
sorry, people. I'm not sorry.
Bradley's having a fight here on our Discord, but it's
Ding, ding,
fine.
ding.
We're here doing Roundabout Cast episode 19 and not discussing on Discord.
Hey.
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 I'm your host Willer.
I am Bradley, a kaiju from under the sea.
And I am Joe, third rank guardian with a fourth rank dueling deck.
Tyler, what are you?
I am special guest Tyler,
Hey.
and I am known as the eighth hidden sheath, red sheath.
Deep pools. Not so deep pools.
Yeah, Tyler was in the solar system, so we got him to come on the podcast. I think that was the last gag. Was like he was like a space smuggler or something. I forgot what we were saying.
I was smuggling, like some good fruit through the galaxy last time. Something pretty harmless.
Yes.
Now I'm just doing some telemarketing work in the downtime just to lay low for a little bit.
Oh, I see.
That's quite the backstory that we should not expand on.
No, we should.
Go nowhere. What
We
we
should
should
have more.
what we should expand on is everyone's favorite topic, worm. I think that's what we got first.
Oh my god, that's first.
Yeah.
Oh. Have fun.
Oh.
Joe goes out of the galaxy.
He said he gone.
Don't worry, gang. Worm will be fast today because what do I
Hey.
got here?
Are we doing all of Arc 15? What is this?
You know what? Let's not do worm first. Joe, you still alive?
I have arisen.
Yes,
Joe's
I'm-
back alive. Audible. We're going to do Disney first, and then we'll do Worm, because that'll give me time to highlight the notes I want to talk about, because I didn't do that.
Wait, are we sponsored by Audible now?
Yes. I wish. I'm waiting for the day. That's when we're official.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for when we can chill out. But yeah, let's talk about Disney instead.
Yeah.
Disney.
So, as y'all recall from the last...
Give me the reins. What are you doing here? This isn't your subject. Give me the shit. Give me the
Hold on,
microphone.
I'm just... Hold up.
Give me it. Give me it, Willer.
I just want to say, last time we were talking about how we were about to go to Disney, and then surprise guest Tyler, because he's always a surprise guest, showed up the day after we recorded.
Yeah.
So he was with us throughout the Disney adventure.
Uh-huh.
Go, Joe. Do your thing, I guess.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, we last week we discussed I kind of went through my run through of Disney and what I think is great about it and just some personal tips about just doing all of Disney. Tyler joined us the day after as a surprise appearance. It really did make my birthday. I really appreciate it a lot. It was great.
It was great.
But we had a great time at Disney. At least I did. I don't know about y'all. It was Willer's first time there. Bradley had been there since he was 6 years old. Tyler had been there 5 years ago. And
Yeah, somewhere around there.
and to me, that's way too long to be away from Disney. I go stir crazy. But yeah, we had a great time. So I just kind of want to open up the floor here. So we did as much as we possibly could. I feel like we hit a lot of major rides at the parks, with probably the exception of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, but even then I don't even consider that too big of a ride to miss out on. But yeah, we did a lot. We hit a lot of things. We saw one of the last showings of Illuminations, which has been going on for 20 years. Last night was its last showing. Tonight will be the first showing of the new show Epcot Forever at Epcot.
Ooh.
Oh dang.
I really liked Illumination. I was like, man, this is one of the best fireworks shows I've ever seen. And
Little
then,
did you know.
And then Thursday happened.
Ooh. But yeah, let's just kind of go by day in what y'all think or what we thought about the parks and what y'all, because I have tons of opinions about it, but I want to hear what y'all's going from Epcot, Hollywood. Hollywood will be a little bit more of, because I can talk about Star Wars Land and everything. Epcot, Hollywood, Animal Kingdom, and then Magic Kingdom, and kind of just surmise what y'all felt about each of those parks.
I guess if we start at Epcot, my favorite part about Epcot was obviously the whole country aesthetic, where there's a bunch of buildings and architectures from different countries and different little mini villages. representing different countries and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I was a foodie because there was the Food and Wine Festival going on there.
Yeah.
And they do all these like pop-ups around Epcot in like each area that have like a bigger variety of food as like to add on to the already like food that currently exists there. So like they have like Brazilian food that Willer was really excited to see, and he was like, "Oh man, we really got to try this," but we had just stuffed our faces with pizza.
I wanted the drink there, the caipirinha.
Oh, okay.
So here's the deal with that. I was kind of bummed out that each place only had 3 dishes and they weren't like snack sizes. I feel like it would have been cooler if they had a wider variety of little snack sizes so you could sample a little bit of each country. Because we actually just ended up eating at one of the restaurants in Epcot. We didn't actually eat from any of the pop-ups.
Mm-hmm.
You know what we probably should have done is like since they weren't snack size, like you're right. I mean, there was 4 of us. We probably should have like the ideal situation is to probably just go buy one plate and then have everybody like try a little bit of it.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
Probably would have saved us a lot of money too. But it's my birthday, damn it! I wanted that goddamn pizza.
That pizza was fucking good.
Dude,
I put
Star
the team on my fucking back. No, not Star Pizza.
Oh, the Italian pizza.
The
Yeah.
half meter.
Never eat half a meter of pizza, y'all.
We got there like, yeah, let's get the half meter. I just looked at them like, what?
I mean, we finished it.
Yeah.
It did break Tyler for the rest of the week, but it's cool.
Yeah. But anyways, Tyler, Bradley, what are your thoughts and opinions about Epcot?
Dude, I think I'm in the minority, not just in this group, but also in the world at large when I say Epcot was like one of, if not my favorite parks.
Really?
Because I care a lot less about the rides. I probably wouldn't be able to name half the rides we actually rode at Epcot. I just tremendously liked it for the park itself and all the different country stuff there. Like, I don't know, getting to see all the different like miniature countries was my favorite thing. It was probably my second favorite thing at Disney World besides the fireworks.
Yeah.
I care a lot about the rides, and that's why I probably put Epcot at the bottom for me. I think Fast Track was probably the best ride there.
Yeah.
I like the experience that Epcot does create, and I wish I was a more responsible adult to like allocate money towards Epcot, because you can spend an additional like $500 on food and drinks alone at Epcot. And yeah, I liked that.
Epcot is very much the adult theme park of Disney. Like, it's just like, oh, we're gonna walk around, we're gonna take some pictures, and we're gonna just look at these things. And like, there's a pavilion that shows off like Shanghai Disney that they're making and all the cool stuff. Like, they had a sweet like alligator mall for this like god that's from China.
That was cool.
And honestly, okay, so sorry, but like that area right there, the Shanghai China exhibit, it goes into like there's like a lot of museums at Epcot.
Yeah.
And they used to have a section right there that was like, instead of displaying Shanghai Disney, it was like the Terracotta Warrior Army, and it was like a replica army, and it took up like 3/4 of the room, and you learn about the history of like China and everything.
That would have been cool. I would have liked to see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bummer
But, like,
it wasn't there.
yeah.
Darn shame.
Epcot very much is the more like kind of adult orientated one. It's also the cheapest of the parks. It's like usually just like $99 if you're just buying an Epcot ticket for the day. But I really like Epcot as an adult. As a kid, I really was just loathing the day every time we went there, because it's like, we're gonna do Test Track and Soarin', and then that's it. And then we'll walk around.
Soarin' do be good.
Soarin' do be good.
Soarin'.
Bradley was so excited when we saw Patrick Warburton as the dude.
Guys, I had a little moment.
You did.
I oh my god. I don't want. We need to talk about something else.
Oh,
all right,
we'll get to your moments. Let's move on to Hollywood.
Yeah, let's move on to Hollywood, which was like, so for Hollywood, I just want to preface, the reason I did Hollywood the second day on Tuesday is because Tuesdays are noticeably the lower part is like you can look at the map and like Tuesday definitely has like a lower attendance rate than the rest of the days at
Yeah.
Disney and theme parks in general because it's in the middle of the week and usually people aren't traveling in that day.
God damn allergies.
Bless you.
Oh, keep going.
And so with Star Wars Land opening a month earlier, I wanted to like minimize the amount of crowds we could by like any kind of minuscule percentage change as possible. And we went to Hollywood and like it was pretty good, like population wise.
The whole trip was really good population wise. I feel like.
Yeah.
It was never too crowded, but there was still a healthy amount of people around.
Mm-hmm.
I went when I went 5 or 6 years ago. We went for Thanksgiving, and we went to Hollywood Studios on Thanksgiving, and that might have been the worst idea I've ever experienced in my entire life.
Oh yeah.
Because like the last day when we were waiting through the crowd, like trying to exit the park, it was like that just during the regular daytime at Hollywood Studios, and every ride was like a 2-hour long wait, including the Tower of Terror,
Shit.
which we ended up riding like 6 times.
4 times or something like that.
Yeah.
4 or 5. A lot. Good.
Yeah.
Good time.
Oh, dude, that ride so good.
Yeah.
That was definitely my favorite ride out of Hollywood. There was another ride I really liked there, but I can't quite remember.
There was Rock and Roller Coaster.
Rock and Roller Coaster is pretty good. Yeah.
That was my shit.
I really like Hollywood Studios. Hollywood Studios has gone through a major change, and it's like what it wants its rides and its shows to be about. It used to be very much just like this is how movies are made. Like every show is about how a movie was made, or was like the history of movies, or like being an experience in a movie kind of thing. It's now being shifted more towards of like movie themed lands.
This is a podcast where everyone gets to listen to me sniffle and blow my nose.
Yeah.
Blowing your nose is for babies.
Blowing your nose for
Number one does the trip.
Yeah, actually, that we got mileage out of that one. But I think I would have liked to see the old Hollywood Studios a lot. That being said, the current Hollywood Studios was probably my favorite park in general.
Mm-hmm.
I very much enjoy that one. I like the aesthetic. Those 2 good rides were very strong. What are some of the other rides we rode there?
We rode the Toy Story Mania ride, which was the 3D Toy Story ride.
That was pretty. Yeah, that was neat.
There's also Star Wars Land there.
Right. Yeah, the Star Wars ride. The specifically like the one where you're in groups of 3 and you're piloting the ship. That was very quality.
Yeah.
Star Wars Land has a life-size Millennium Falcon there.
Yeah, it looks so cool.
And I would definitely wait to go until the second ride is open, just because the first ride was so good. I really want the second ride, you to have the option to do 2 rides while you're there.
Mm-hmm. And like, what's crazy was like there was nobody. It felt like there was nobody there at the park, for that section. And like the ride, like said it had a 60-minute wait, but it really wasn't a 60-minute wait. Whenever we get onto it, every time, that ride is crazily efficient. And I think I figured out what it was, is that like, because when we rode the ride, it really isn't that like rough compared to like Star Tours or something.
Oh yeah.
Like it's a lot more gentler, but it's a lot more interactive for sure. It's like the most interactive ride I've ever been on. And like, so like basically they don't need like a big space to like move you around. So they just kind of have you on this carousel, and then they just rotate you in and out of like the active pod, the boarding pod, and the exit pod. It's crazy. Like they're getting probably like over like 1,500 guests in an hour, every hour in and out there, probably even more. It goes by so fast, and that ride is awesome. I think
we should probably talk about kind of like the stories that they were telling in the park. For example, the first thing we noticed is when we were waiting for the Star Wars ride, a Rey like costume lady came out and she started working on the ship just casually, kind of like ignoring the people around her, just staying in character. Then she kind of went off and started talking to some people that were on like, they weren't in the line we were in because we saw her from the line, but she just started talking to some people. And it's just kind of interesting how the characters are just in the park.
Mm-hmm.
There was another really good example.
Yeah, there was like they've done something different in Star Wars Land or in Galaxy's Edge as it's called, in that there's no character meet and greet sections. Like you're not gonna see Chewbacca in the corner, like with a little overhang and a person taking their picture, but instead you'll see the actual characters walking around the park, like just normal people and going from place to place. Like we saw stormtroopers like walking around and escorting like civilians, or like a kid in Captain Phasma gear. The coolest interaction was that we saw two like stormtroopers go around. They were walking towards us, and we see them stop and like put their hands to their heads, and they turn around like start moving quickly in another direction. And we turn the corner, and we see Rey is behind a wall, like looking around, seeing if they're gone. And then she just like walks down and starts walking around the crowd, like Assassin's Creed style, just walking out there. And we're just
it was really cool. Like that was one of my favorite moments of the trip because it was just so natural.
And like it was crazy because we were talking about this, we were exiting, it's like no one stopped her, no one in the crowd just went up to Ray and started taking pictures or saying, where are you going, where's your meet and greet? Like everyone just let her do her thing. Like it was crazy to me.
I think there must be something about like her being so in character that you just kind of have to respect the art and you just kind of let her go.
And like the thing is, like she was so in character that I didn't want to disturb her mission. I was like, man, she has shit she needs to do.
She has places to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, we saw where she ended up. She went into her little ship at the end.
Yeah. It was really cool because like apparently they'll like get kids to interact with them too.
Oh, yeah. So I did a thing. So there are two like I don't want to say ticketed events, but two personalized activities you can do at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. There is the droid. You can build your own like R2-D2 or BB-8 droid type of thing, which is $100, or you can go and make your own lightsaber, which is $200.
Let's talk about that because like me, Tyler, and Bradley left a little early, and Joe was like, you know what? I'm gonna go celebrate my birthday by myself, and he made a lightsaber.
Yeah, well, like I had known that it was it was an activity for a time, and like I was telling them beforehand, I was like, I've been looking for months trying to reserve a spot because they were telling like you need to reserve a spot to do this activity. And it's just like, if I could reserve a spot, I would do it. But like, I really couldn't do it. And I finally like was wandering around. When they left, I went back to Galaxy's Edge. I wandered around for a little bit. And I walked into a Jedi store where it's sold like Jedi holocrons and like replica lightsabers. And I walked up to, and I was looking at the lightsabers, and I hear people talking about the custom lightsaber thing. And it's like right around the corner. It's like, oh, I'll just go see like if I could poke my head in or like see what it's like or just get a glimpse of it. And I talked to the lady, and she's like, well, you should go see if there's an open spot. And I went, and they're like, yeah, we can squeeze you in. I was the last person to like get squeezed in for that session for the day, or that period of time. And oh man, that was probably the most magical thing I've ever done in Disney World. It was great.
That makes me so like we weren't there to witness it, but the fact that you came home with a cool lightsaber, that was really cool. I was very very happy to hear that you had a good time there.
And the you're in there, and like everything in there is just perfectly like paced, and it's such a great theatrical performance because you're in there, and I forget what the lady's name is, but she's like the junkyard technician, and she's just like, we hide out as like scrapyard people, but what we're doing is we're trying to like get people to like be connected to the Force again, and like have them build lightsabers and remake these like ancient weapons through the scraps that we find. And like while she's telling these stories, like there's this whole like Star Wars soundtrack going that's in time to her whole spiel. Like it's perfectly choreographed.
Damn.
Like she's picking up the crystals. Like she picks up the blue crystal and starts talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it's playing his theme while she's talking about it. And she picks up the green crystal, and this is Qui-Gon's theme. And she picks up the red crystal and goes to Kylo Ren's theme. It's like you're like, oh, it's like I'm in the movie right now.
You didn't say that part. That's really cool.
Yeah, and like the color changes and everything while you're in the room. And then like I was looking back on it now, like she's talking about it, and while she's doing this, like her assistants are like bringing out trays to give to you with like your different pieces. So right before you go in, you basically have to choose like what category of pieces you want to do there. Like you have like Peace and Justice, which is the classic like Jedi lightsaber style, Power, which is the Sith style, Nature, which is kind of like the witches from Dathomir kind of style, and then you have Defense, which is like the Old Republic styled lightsabers. So you get these different styles you can choose from, and they bring the trays out, and like as soon as their spiel's done, it goes into this mass chaos, and you feel like you're in this movie montage scene where everyone's like doing their thing together, and everyone's talking and clicking and clacking and putting everything together. And you're just like, oh god, it was just like, it was crazy. And so while I'm doing this, and you're building the hilt while you're doing this, I know like the plastic part of the lightsaber, like the blade part of it, is plastic. It's like a light bulb kind of thing. And I'm thinking to myself, is like, how are they going to put the blade into the lightsaber and still make it immersive enough for me to like not go like, all right, now I could stick this thing in here and twist. And man, did they pull it off.
How do they pull it off, Joe?
They basically, your light bulb is in a tube already, and they just take the hilt and they stick into this tube and say they're calibrating your lightsaber so it doesn't explode.
Of course.
And then they're like, all right, it's done. You need to ignite it. And then you ignite it, and like the tube slides open. You can pull the lightsaber out, like just fully formed, and it's great. But man, talented experience. You should go do that if you have the money to pay for it.
You know what else you should do? You should go to Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
I really liked Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, Animal Kingdom is great. Everyone loves like Animal Kingdom. There are two problems with Animal Kingdom. It's huge and there's no shade.
It was so
Animal
fucking
Kingdom's,
hot.
Animal Kingdom's my favorite, and it's truly a test of the elements because that's like third day material usually. Like it's a gauntlet right there.
Yeah.
It is. Animal Kingdom is not for the weak of heart.
But it had so many cool things. Everest is probably my favorite ride from the park in general, from all the parks. It's a real roller coaster, which is what I like.
Yeah.
And I've talked with Joe about this, but my one complaint about almost like all the exciting rides in Disney is that they're really dark inside, and I kind of like to see what's going on. Everest was a little bit better with this. There's a lot more light areas.
Dude,
than
Everest
the other.
was legit.
We went like 2 or 3 times, right? Maybe
We
more.
went 3 times, yeah.
It was good. It was good stuff.
Yeah. We also did Dinosaur.
What was Dinosaur?
Dinosaurs when you're in the little like time machine, you go back in time and there's the dinosaurs, man.
Oh,
It's the
Dinosaur is
one where-
fun.
Yeah,
The ride for babies, but for cool babies.
it's the one where Joey summons Time Wizard and he goes, "Time roulette, go!"
Yeah, it was really cool when you said that. There was the safari, which I very much enjoyed. I just had a lovely. I just like safaris in general.
Safari was like top 3 Disney World things for me. I really liked
Yeah,
it.
we got the ride, and Willer and Bradley were just like, man, that was great. That's one of my
Hell yeah.
favorite rides I've ever done. I was like, okay.
Fucking
It was great. We also had the little river ride, right, where like it was just a comedy routine the whole time. Was that?
That was in the animatronics one. No, that was in Magic Kingdom.
Oh,
You're thinking
right.
of the
no.
so
No.
so Bradley showed up late to Animal Kingdom because he just wasn't feeling well. So Tyler, Willer, and I went on the Navi River ride.
Ooh,
Which
No,
was
not that one. That one was very pretty. I'm talking about the one where the dude is just cracking jokes the whole time. Maybe that was Magic
Oh,
Kingdom.
no. That
That's
was
Magic Kingdom.
Magic Kingdom.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
I just liked Pandora Land with the floating rocks. Looked fucking rad.
I want to talk about Pandora. They had these drinks, all right. They call them Pongu Pongu.
Tyler's
And it was
a
like-
fan.
A night. I think I had a night blossom, and it's like just this this concoction of like grapefruit and lime, and they put these little soba balls in it that look like little alien eggs, and then they throw like this big plastic blinding light in it that's like, here, if you go into a dark room, you're about to be blinded by this light as you drink it.
Remember these plastic lights? They will come back in this story later.
Oh yeah, but even the theming and food and drink was really awesome there. Like I think they all had like food bowls, so it was like more natural food, a little bit healthier.
We did the ride there. That was a long wait, but it was a fun ride where you kind of ride the flying banshees.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the breathing bicycle.
Yes, breathing bicycle. There was like this little town that looked like Nepal, which gave me Phoenix Wright vibes, and I had a very good time there, just walking by. Animal Kingdom, so far my rankings from bottom to top, would go Epcot, Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, but I really liked both of those. Those final two that we went to there.
I would say like Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom now are for the rides. You know, they got them
Yeah.
good rides.
I think that's why I like them so much.
Epcot and Magic Kingdom, they have those top tier experiences though.
Yes.
Which
I love Magic Kingdom. It's my favorite.
We should
part.
talk about Magic Kingdom as now is the time.
Yeah,
It's very magical.
More
Yeah.
like Tragic Kingdom, am I right,
So-
ladies?
For Bradley, yes.
It took me, I think, going and working at Disney World to really realize that like Magic Kingdom to me is like the quintessential theme park in my brain of like what a theme park should aspire to be. Because like there is so much love and labor put into this theme park, and every land is its own distinct thing. You know what it is, you know where you are, and they each have their own theming to it, and I just love it so much. It's kind of like whenever I go to the theme park, like I really look and I really like judge the theming of the theme park and seeing where it was. Like we walked into Animal Kingdom, and I think I went on like a 10 or 15 minute like rant about Dinoland USA about how much I hate it so much
You sure did, buddy.
because
Sure
it doesn't
did.
it doesn't relate to the theme of Animal Kingdom, which is conservation. But Magic Kingdom though, it feels like you're walking around in Walt Disney's brain. And I love it so much because you realize like all the different parts that were important to Walt Disney and like, the things that like inspired him to like think this way. Like you go down Main Street, you are literally entering his imagination when you exit Main Street. That's the idea of it.
I absolutely loved the look of Magic Kingdom, and like you said, each land looked really fun and cool. The only reason why it would be near the bottom is the rides. There are a lot more experience-based rides, but sometimes you end up waiting in Peter Pan for like an hour and a half, and then it's like, oh, that was Peter Pan, I guess.
Yeah.
But then you get the Space Mountain. Is that what it's
Space
called?
Mountain.
Yeah.
God, that's a fun ride. You just feel
The
like you're
Buzz
gonna
Lightyear
die the whole
Space Ranger
time.
spin.
Huh?
Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin, where
Oh, that
Will
was fun.
cucked me of my top score.
That's happy birthday, Joe. It was Joe's birthday too. Yeah, that day.
Yeah, it was.
I have to equate like Peter Pan. I'm sorry, Peter Pan. That's the equivalent to go playing like glow in the dark mini golf at like main event.
I love Peter Pan because it's something that's like extremely magical. It's one of the original rides in the park that still exists to this day. And like I just love the creativity of it being a different dark ride where you're flying over the things and you're flying over the ride rather than the ride kind of towering over you. Essentially, it's a different perspective to do something. And I just think it's cute and it's wonderful. I knew none of you would probably go to Disney World again for like a few years, if even. So it's like I should just show them this because I think it's a really special ride compared to any other dark ride.
Yeah, it was like doing It's a Small World. Like you're doing it for the historical experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
If I went to Disney World by myself, I probably wouldn't go ride Peter Pan because I've ridden it 100 times and I know it's only like a 5-minute line or not even a 5-minute ride. It's like a minute.
But there's a sleeper ride called the Carousel of Progress.
Yes.
I don't know why, I just really enjoy that ride.
That ride's top tier. It's the last kind of ride Walt Disney like personally like had a hand in making. Like they said before, he did start to finish. It was at the World's Fair. Walt Disney would die like a few years later. Like 1967 was the announcement of Disney World. And I think that year or the year after he died. So it's a great experience. It's a cool one because it can be consistent but also updated at the same time and still like keep its meaning.
Yeah, you just have to really update that last section and you still keep the meaning.
Yeah.
The last section was surprisingly not too far off.
Yeah.
I felt like it was pretty relevant to the near future.
Mm-hmm.
With
Like,
grandma fighting noobs with the VR lasers.
Like I see people living in like Vermont living that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. It was funny because My grandmother's house looks just like the ending scene from Carousel of Progress.
That's
Grandma knows.
Grandma knows. Let's talk about the secret fifth park, the best park of them all, IMO, which is Magic Kingdom After Dark. That's when shit got real.
Yeah.
Y'all,
Here we go.
I'm worried that like I left permanent grooves on Tyler's shoulder from clutching him so hard. It was a very emotional moment for me, and I did like I sobbed during the fireworks. They were very beautiful, and they were a really emotional moment for me because I feel like every particular song that was included in this was Happily Ever After is the name of the show, right?
Yes.
Every particular song like reminded me of something throughout my life, like my cousin and his wife are like really good singers, so there was like one song that they always like to sing when our family gets together, so that was there. And then like, oh, there's another song that my uncle used to sing to me when I was little, or like Go the Distance was like a song that like really drove me.
Go to Distance at that moment of the show is like fucking killer to your emotion.
Yeah.
It's like a stab.
So there were just all these different songs that like reminded me of like people I love or just really nice times in my life. So like every time a new song started, I would just start crying all over again.
For me, like just everything was so fucking well done, dude. The lighting, the fireworks, the projections on the castle. That was damn near the most beautiful thing I have seen in my entire life.
Oh yeah,
Like straight
holy
up.
shit.
I came out extremely impressed at the fireworks show at the end.
Yeah, and you are correct. And that Magic Kingdom After Dark is probably the best park because all the babies go home, which means all the rides go down from a 60-minute wait to a 10-minute wait. Every single one of them.
And it's gorgeous.
And it's gorgeous. Everything lights up. It's just beautiful. Like usually like the parks open like during the like holiday or closer to the holiday seasons, they'll stay open till like 11 o'clock or midnight for resort guests. So it's basically empty. You get to run around the park the entire time.
And it was really crowded when we were leaving, so we held up our little drink light bulbs that we got from Pandora. That's how that feeds back into the story.
Yeah.
Just a really nice moment. Much emotions were felt.
Mm-hmm. My favorite part was we were sitting there watching the show, and Tyler was like, "Are you okay, Bradley?" And Willard's like, "Nah, he's fine. He's good." And then Mufasa from The Lion King is like, "Remember who you are." And Willard's like, "Nope, that's it. He's done."
It's a game over, man.
It killed me.
But no, Happily Ever After is probably the best fireworks show I've ever seen. Like
Jesus.
I generally don't watch fireworks shows or parades because I'd rather just be going on the rides or getting in line for a ride because the wait times are way down during that time. But man, that show, like if I happen to just be there, I'll watch it from like start to finish. It's so good.
That made a lasting impression on me.
Yeah.
Final rating of Disney Experience with Joe as your guide. This is an important caveat because that increases your enjoyment. One of the best weeks ever. I'm very depressed to be back in the real world. It was such a good week.
I will say, like, I was going through a rough patch, and I'm like, my surprise guess happened to be like my ship had just landed back in this galaxy, and I was like, you know what, I got time for this. I hopped on a plane the next day to go to Disney. It was honestly the decision was made in about 12 hours, and props to Bradley for helping getting me there because I was able to surprise Joseph and Willard.
Yeah. Bradley bust his ass to get Tyler.
Willard like went ninja mode, and like we looked around the entire like front area of the resort except for the one spot Bradley was in,
where he was setting this up. Like,
yeah,
it was. I guess it was meant to be, huh?
Yeah.
I'm very glad Tyler was in the galaxy that day.
Oh, yeah.
Apt comparisons.
I'm very happy that I went, and it was definitely. I think you have to try to have a bad experience at Disney, to be honest. Like, if you have a bad experience at Disney, you need some therapy.
Yeah.
Disney is therapy.
Yeah.
I think after this trip, I totally understand why Joe does this every year. Like, holy shit, it's amazing. I definitely want to go back as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah. Post-instant depression is really real. Like,
I'm feeling it, dog.
yeah, you're just like, oh god. The only thing I don't miss is the cost of the food there.
Yeah.
By the way,
I did gain weight, by the way. We're like, oh, we're walking this off. Nah, fam. That was
really?
the worst.
I stayed the same. I was fine.
I lost several pounds.
Well, look at you boys and your good metabolisms.
Yeah.
You didn't hydro homie enough.
Willer also
I drink the most water.
Willer also carried the team on the pizza, so that was probably it.
That really did put a dent in it.
Mm-hmm.
You just hate to see it go, you know. All right, that's good for Disney. We did it. We did a good.
But thanks for coming, guys. I'm really glad y'all enjoyed it. I'm really happy it was worth it for all of y'all.
It was a lovely time.
Hey.
Hey, Tyler and Joe can peace out for a little bit, or you can stay around as we talk about Worm at our segment. Take that, you Worm.
Hey, you got it this time.
Hey, I almost did it wrong. That's why I kind of
I
stuttered there
know.
for a second.
I was about to say it instead, and then I realized I was about to mess it up.
Today we're gonna talk about Arc 15,
Which
all of it.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Arc 15 historically is not. Whenever I'm like rereading or re-listening to this story, historically Arc 15 is not one of the arcs that I'm like excited to get back to. And I think a big part of that is coming from the Slaughterhouse 9 arc. It's a huge step down in terms of I think stakes and action. I want to know what you think about that.
So as we talked about last time, I didn't quite like the miasma ending of the Arc 14, but I really loved the interlude. So I was still coming off a pretty good high.
Yeah.
When going into this one. That being said, I feel like the best way to summarize Arc 15 for me is a really, really strong start to where I still enjoyed it for a lot of the start portion, but around the midway point, I can feel the qualms you might have with it, the lack of escalation. It's also coming back to some of my least favorite parts of Worm, or like least favorite kinds of chapters.
Yeah, it's like the beginning of the arc is like, okay, like we're officially going into the
Coil
Taylor versus Coil. Like this is what we've been waiting for. We've been building it up, and we do some like really good setup of that in the first few chapters, and then the rest of the chapter kind of feels more like moving chess pieces around than it does chess pieces taking each other out.
Should I go through the summary? There was a lot of interludes this arc.
Yeah,
or like
let's go ahead and we could do the like chapter by chapter summary, and then we can talk about what we like.
The quickie. So you got 15.1, which is Bitch and Taylor Adventures. You got 15 Interlude 1, which is Brandish's interlude. Carol, right? Brandish, Carol?
Yes.
You got 15.2, where it's a lot of Taylor, Regent, and Tattletale kind of making their play on the what are they called? The white people, the white supremacists. Taylor, Regent versus the white folk. You got 15.3, which is kind of like the culmination and argument based on the moral implications of what they did there.
Yeah.
You got the second interlude, which is the Brian interlude. You got the meeting with Coil in 15.4. You got 15.5, which is really the ballistic chapter. You got 15.7, which is kind of the fight with what's her name? Flechette.
There you go.
You got 15 interlude 3, which is the Alexandra interlude. You got 15.8, which is the hostage attack.
Ooh.
You got 15.9, which is mostly just torturing Triumph for a lot of the chapter. You got 15.10, there was a lot, which is Taylor mostly talking to her dad and kind of some emotional beats there. Then you got the final interlude, which is the Triumph interlude. So
what are some things we like and dislike about this arc? What do we want to spotlight?
The first thing I want to talk about is the Brandish interlude.
There you go.
Kind of understanding why Victoria never really fit into the family because...
Or Amy, rather.
Yeah, because it was forced upon... Yeah, Amy. She was forced upon Carol. And
I think she said, like, she never even wanted kids in the first place,
She
like whether they were her own or not.
she specifically says, "Okay, I can maybe have kids because I can make sure that they're going to be my kids and I can protect them. Maybe I can have kids because of that." And I mean, as the story turns out, taking in Amy is the reason why Victoria got completely messed up. Um, there's this line I really like where the person who read this chapter in the audiobook gets a 10 out of 10 for me, by the way. She did a really good job here, but when Amy's explaining what she did to Victoria, there's a line where it says, all the excuses she had been planning to say shot out of her mouth, where you could just, it's just a really nice way to put that she was agonizing over having to explain this, and she just kind of robotically delivers what she did, which is completely warp her sister's appearance. I couldn't really tell from the way it's described what she's really supposed to look like here. It just sounds not right.
You have to wonder if there's some fan art of this, but I also really like that part where she has trouble like vocalizing what she's trying to say as far as the excuses, because I feel like everyone's kind of had a moment in their life where you're anxious about having to explain something to someone and you probably rehearse it a million times in your head, and then when it's time to actually say it, you just totally botch it.
Yeah.
I feel like you can. I was about to say I feel like you can step into her shoes there, but I don't. At the same time, I don't think anyone's ever been in a situation quite like this.
Yeah, it's God, it's horrifying. If there is fan art of that, please send it to us on either our email or Reddit or YouTube or something, because I would love to see what that looks like.
Yeah, send us these pictures of this monstrosity.
I couldn't tell if she just like looked like a perfect idealized version of herself that doesn't look like her anymore, if she was some sort of monster.
Yeah, I think whenever Taylor actually got a look at her, which granted, I think she looks different at that point than she does in this interlude.
Yeah.
But I think the words Taylor used was like you could almost think it was beautiful, except like I think she described it as like there were a bunch of like conventionally attractive attributes that were just like dialed up to 1,000, which is
Yeah.
kind of back and made it ugly instead.
Yeah, and God, that's just, and I imagine that was midway through the process, so I imagine she looks different now, but just geez. The reason why I thought it must not be that bad is because Carol was somehow able to hold herself back. She wasn't like attacking her, so I can't imagine it's like a complete monster where like she's barely even human now.
Yeah, it can't be that bad.
But it's still probably really bad.
Still probably really bad.
What did you think about the whole morality of them taking over Victor, like kind of torturing him into submission, and Taylor being like, "What the fuck, guys? You didn't tell me about this."
This is an interesting situation, and I knew we were going to be talking about this. And overall, I'm actually I'm like less. I do think like the morality of the situation is like endlessly interesting, but I was less excited to talk about the morality of it and more excited to talk about the fact that Taylor's teammates like recognize what kind of person she is.
Yes.
And you have to imagine like they've probably talked about her and her morals in quotation marks behind her back before, because like they all knew there was a 0% chance she would be okay with this, so they're like, okay, we're gonna do this and we're not gonna tell her, and that's a conversation they had to have. And so I wonder if that's just part of like being Taylor's teammate, that they're always on edge, like anything we do we have to make sure it's going to be okay with her, because if it's not, we know she's going to freak out.
She's going to throw a fit. I get annoyed when she does that.
And you can't know. Like,
Yeah.
It might not even just be she throws a fit. Like, what if she attacks one of them? Because you don't know.
You don't know. It was really interesting. They're really good at shutting her down with her arguments. They're like, well, what about when you did this and this, Taylor? Well, what about how come it's okay to do it to Shadowstalker but not to him, etc.
Yeah, and that's going to shut Taylor up, because Taylor isn't going to want to admit that maybe she was more fine with it on Shadowstalker because
she's a bully.
That was a personal thing,
Yeah. My favorite little tidbit here at the end is like Regent leaves and he's like, man, after all I did for you, which Taylor doesn't know what he's talking about.
She doesn't even know.
I find this a really interesting line too because he could just be being snarky, but also you get the sense that even though he never vocalized it, I guess in his mind during that interlude, he really was doing those things, kind of partially doing those things to Shadowstalker because of Taylor.
Yeah.
Potentially, it's always like nebulous with this guy. I like to think that in some twisted way he was looking out for the dork on his team.
We got my boy Regent, always he's such a good guy.
Upstanding citizen Regent.
Love this man.
You got the Gru interlude, which I've said it before. I think I've definitely said it to Bradley, but Gru is probably the most boring of the Undersiders. I think I might. It's between him and Tattletale for me, but like Tattletale just has she has a personality at least, and it's just one that I don't necessarily like. While Gru is just very rigid, so he has less of a personality, and he just comes off as like not as interesting.
I think it's fair to say that historically, when it comes to like fan polls, Gru is usually like near people's like the bottom.
But showing his PTSD here was a good way to get me to care about him a little bit more.
Yeah, because like man, like we obviously anybody is gonna be fucked up by what Bonesaw did to him, but we get to really see like the toll this took on him. Like he sees her everywhere, no matter what he's doing.
Which is very cool whenever we get to our Netflix adaptation. At this point of the story, you can expect some hidden bone saws.
Yeah, Willer and I talked for a little while about how we want to do this interlude in the Netflix special, which is totally going to exist.
Wabo is in talks with us. No, he's not. I wish. There was something really serene about when he's like surrounding her with shadows, and she's just kind of like talking to him calmly. Taylor just seems so much cooler when you're not in her head, in my opinion. She just seems like a more interesting character because I get kind of like bothered whenever like she's in the middle of a fight and then she spends like 2 or 3 minutes worth of audiobook analyzing every little detail about what just happened, and it kind of is a pace breaker. And it's like, man, she's just so analytical, but also such a little hypocrite sometimes. When you're outside of her head, she just seems a lot more interesting to me. I don't know if that's just me.
I always do like getting peeks at Taylor from outside her perspective during other people's interludes, because people will have different kind of reads on her. And I think a very common read is this girl's a fucking psychopath.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a fair read from anyone else's perspective. And also here with Brian, and I think he even notes in this interlude how sometimes she can seem really like removed or weirdly calm, and I think there's kind of a speculation there that it's kind of a consequence of her power, and I think she even admits it when describing her power to him, where she's able to look outward with her power.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of makes her and her problems seem really small, and that might just kind of give her a stilled confidence.
I'm really glad you touched on that, because the way she talks in that scene where he's just kind of trying out his power on her is some of my favorite Taylor dialogue, where she's talking about, zooming out of the scope with her power lets her see not only her problems, but all of humanity's problems in a way smaller light, just because she can be so many things at once. And then she's just like, she explains her bugs and in extension themselves as just cogs in a machine. And I was like, this is really cool Taylor dialogue. She doesn't usually speak like this when it's in her head for some reason.
And one thing I always took away from this interlude is descriptions of Taylor, because at this point, the only real people we've heard describe Taylor is herself and her bullies. And of course, her bullies always call her ugly, and they will like point out the attributes of herself that she hates the most. And then Taylor is a 15-year-old girl, and obviously she probably won't be that kind to herself in describing herself. So any mental image we have of Taylor would probably be not a very attractive person. And we're finally hearing someone else describe her. And Brian will say, I mean, she's obviously not a model, but he doesn't think she's ugly either. She's
I guess he was like, well, she's got a lot of skin, which was like, it feels like she has more skin than she has body mass. She has a
I think
wide
he would
smile.
describe her as I think in general he described her as average, but and he said that she could even grow to be someone that I don't know if he used the word like womanly.
I think he said something about like she looks like lanky right now, but it could grow into elegance or something like that.
Yeah, and I really like the contrast with how he describes her with like every other physical description we've gotten of her till now.
And then they become super villain boyfriend and girlfriend, which
Yay!
good
Everyone.
good for Gru, I suppose. He kind of needs something good going on in his life.
I'm sure these troubled people will have a very great relationship.
Oh yeah, can't wait. Ballistic interlude worth noting because I complained a little bit earlier. Where it's like, I like all the travelers except Ballistic. He just kind of exists, and his whole thing is like get money, fuck bitches, get money, get paid. He has a little line where it's like everything around me is just ammunition for me. It just goes to show you like how destructive his power is, exclusively destructive, which is something I guess he shares with Sundancer. We were in this car when I was listening to this chapter because we were driving to the airport to do all the Disney stuff, I believe.
Yeah.
We were driving to Joe's rather, and he's like, "What does it matter anyways? The world's gonna end in 2 years anyways." And Taylor is like, "Oh, you're hung up on that."
You're hung up on that whole end of the world thing. What a loser.
We just had a good laugh at the absurdity of that. Shit happens. Okay, so this chapter really lost me around this point. I thought the recruiting Parian stuff was so fucking boring. I'm not gonna lie. There was nothing there for me.
My biggest takeaway from this whole scene specifically is when Skitter is like debating with Flechette. And the reason I like it is because in their debate, Skitter has finally found someone who is like her, and she gets so unbelievably frustrated because she's arguing like Taylor's like, I'm trying to do the right thing, I'm trying to help you. And Flechette's like, no, that's what I'm trying to do. She's like, I'm the good guy, I'm catching the bad guy. And Taylor's probably said like that exact thing to so many heroes. Like, I don't know, like, oh no, like I'm a villain, but I'm trying to catch the bad guys. And Flechette is just like, she doesn't understand how Taylor does not get it. She's like, no, you're the bad guy, I'm catching you, I'm the good guy. And Taylor just tries to explain these things to her. And like to both of them, they don't understand how the other person does not understand that they are the good guy.
And then good guy Taylor proceeds to stick a bunch of bugs down a superhero's esophagus and kill him in front of his father almost.
Yeah. So
great gal that Taylor.
So I just love seeing how frustrated Taylor gets when she meets someone who is so much like her.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can move past the Dolltown segment.
Sliding swiftly along. Yeah, I thought the arguments were pretty good. They were a little bit lengthy, but I guess that's something I have with a lot of back and forths in Worm, especially in the middle of combat, where they get really wordy, and it's like, you guys are allegedly in like Mexican standoff right now, and you're having very, very wordy dialogue.
Ooh,
it's like
hold on, I'm getting a phone call from Coil. One sec.
Is this real life? What's happening here? What is this?
Sorry, I got a phone call from Coil. He said we're going on a mission, and I'm not gonna kill you during it.
Or is he?
Or is he?
That is a thing that happened in these chapters. But also, let's talk about the Alexandria interlude.
Oh boy.
Kind of explains how she was a cancer kid who got her powers. Two really notable things here for me. Finally, we get to see a second Endbringer, which is some hype shit. Even if it was brief. we got to see Behemoth, who I off mic predicted his power would be earthquakes. I was wrong. It's just like super generic energy manipulation that can be all sorts of things.
Ooh, I wouldn't call it generic, but
It's super broad. Then we'll go. It's a very broad.
broad is probably a more accurate.
From what we saw, he can like ignite people on fire and shoot lightning from his fingers and shit. And he was just straight up killing a bunch of capes.
Yeah, and this is probably a really hectic situation for them because I think that was the very first Endbringer attack. So they're just like, what the fuck is happening?
Okay, that's interesting. I wasn't super sure because I think they already had a name for him. They said like, well, they said we attacked the Behemoth.
Yeah,
that
well,
could just be like
yeah.
a generic, like.
He's a behemoth.
And then they called him Behemoth. I'm very excited to see more of these boys. I'm sure the Simurg is coming up next.
Oh my god.
Probably like arc 17 because I know Bradley likes that arc and I know he likes the Simurg.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for more.
I really like this interlude because it gave us a different perspective on the meeting we saw during the Legend interlude.
Yes, we actually got to see what was happening as Legend was like doing his whole lie detector thing. And it's just, this was the hypest like plot detail from the section. It was like, blah 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 blah. Everything rests on Coil's shoulder if you can't manifest certain powers, Eidolon. And it's like, wait, what?
Ooh.
What rests on his shoulder? Like what?
And like even then, like in that same section, I think it's like Alexandria says to the doctor, she says, "You managed to feign skepticism over the whole apocalypse scenario." So it's like, did everyone else here except for Legend already know?
Jesus, I wouldn't be surprised. They're all lying to him.
Poor Legend. And this just like goes to show that like, God, I just love Legend so much because like he was the only person here who's just like genuine.
He's the only one. We got to see how Alexandria got to the point where she can be bent for like this flimsy sense of justice where it's like, oh, it's for the greater good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what the exact scenario was. Can't quite remember, and I'm not going to go through my notes because that might take a while. But yeah, this whole Coil thing is very exciting because that means Taylor is going after the man who could potentially stop the end of the world scenario. I want to know more about that.
Man.
Ooh, you know what? I got some theories now.
Taylor getting involved in some big boy stuff.
I'm excited. I'm excited for big boy stuff. But you know, Wild Bill always knows that excite me.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about the hostage attempt. Taylor talking to her dad. There's a really good line when she's talking to him where she pretty much says that ever since her mom died, ever since she got that call, she's been trying to fill a void in her soul.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like a really, really nice line and a really good character motivation reestablishment kind of thing. It kind of shows that she's been empty for a long time, and this whole villain and friend thing that happened with the Undersiders is kind of a part of that. She hasn't really been able to connect with her dad. She kind of semi-successfully can do it now, but not as great as she wants it to be. I think she says that early next arc, I believe, which I have read some of. But the final thing I would like to talk about is the Triumph interlude where Dragon shows up with Armmaster and it's just Count Olaf in disguise, but he's called Defiant now. He's completely traded a lot of his humanity for just being a cyborg badass.
Yeah, and everyone here obviously knows it's Armmaster, but I think the general idea is that like he's still supposed to be like under house arrest because of his transgressions during the Leviathan fight, but they kind of recognize that he and Dragon going after the Slaughterhouse 9 is a little too important, so they're like, oh, well, he's Defiant. This is not Armsmaster.
It's kind of goofy, but it's a pretty compelling reason.
Yeah.
And I like how Triumph is like, am I the oldest one here? I'm old enough to be brave and say something about it, but I'm not old enough to be jaded and just go with the flow for what's the greater good.
Yeah.
And he starts to think and like kind of starts to understand why Armmaster did what he did. I'm kind of bummed also that he's trading so much of his humanity for power. I liked Armmaster and I wanted to see like him become a good lad, but I guess he can just become a not lad at all and just be a robot man, I suppose. But we'll see where that goes.
He is now Cyborg from Teen Titans.
We can also assume he's made some updates to Dragon's AI, yes, at this point.
Yeah, I imagine there was like kind of a reciprocal there.
Yeah. But as Triumph is thinking about it, he's like, I can understand why he did that, even though I don't agree with it. And he goes out to where the bombs were dropped,
Ooh.
and he looks at the scarred body of Crawler and Mannequin, and he's like, I just want to stare at them to look at real monsters and see if I can really understand something about what a real monster looks like as they're about to flee from death, or like what they're like when they're not being monsters, what they're like when their lives are in danger.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll sit here for 5 minutes, and because there's radiation around, I probably shouldn't stay here for too long. If I can't figure anything out about this, there's just not meant to be, I'll leave. And then it says that he stayed for 15.
Yeah.
That's a really good line to end it on.
He goes to these monsters, like these just like not even, you can't even debate it. Just these absolute monsters that everyone's going to recognize them as such. And he's like, what is it about these guys? Like, how, if I look at these guys long enough, am I going to be able to tell the difference between the monsters and the heroes? And he just, it seems like he can't figure it out.
Yeah. Really good chapter to end it on. So it had like a little dip there, but I really like this interlude it ended on.
On that note, next week we move into Arc 16, which I think by no small margin is the longest arc in the story.
Jesus fuck. So I'm partway through that right now, and I looked at the episode count, and there was a chapter where they're just fighting a robot the whole chapter. It's like, did this need to be 13 plus interludes? We'll talk about that in the future. Goodbye,
Next
everyone.
time on I take that you worm.
Take that, you worm.
Take that, you worm. Everyone, revive!
Revive Phoenix
Awaken
down.
my masters.
And then I'll go die.
Aye. So, everyone
Let's
might
inspect,
remember.
interpret, and even speculate about it.
Everyone, you really gotta stop that, dude. Everyone might remember when I did a quick review, and Brandon was like, "Oh, come back here in a couple weeks for the real review from a real fan who will love this movie." So, Bradley, why don't you tell us how much you loved It Chapter 2?
Oh, wait.
Oh.
I have not seen It Chapter 2.
Oh.
And I'm reading the book, so should I dip out?
You should dip out for a little bit, I guess.
Hey, this will be a fast one, Tyler.
It's gonna be like 5 to 10 minutes, so you can just chill out for a little bit.
I'm gonna go work on my space vegetables.
Do it. I don't know why you would have them on Earth, but it's cool.
Oh, trying new things.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so I'm gonna say it right off the bat. It Chapter 2. While I enjoyed it just because I'm a fan of the franchise, it is a bad movie.
Shit, dog.
It is a very high budget, but frankly, I think poorly made movie. And I think the biggest weakness is the pacing of it. Like, I feel like in this movie, I don't feel like there's any kind of artistic transition between scenes, if that makes sense. I feel like every plot point in this movie, every scene is like they're just checking something off on a list, like, oh, we have to do this part of the story, and then we have to do this part of the story.
And that gets really bad in the middle.
Yeah, and I feel like we, compared to the original, I guess, movie adaptation, I don't think we did a very good job at like transitioning these characters to adults and reintroducing them. And I'm not gonna say it can't be done, because like both adaptations are very different from the book, where the book from the start, it is both the children half of the story and the adult half of the story. And I think Stephen King chooses very good moments to swap between the two. Both of the movie adaptations do the child half and then the adult half. I just think the 1990 version had a much more graceful transition to the adult half, and I'm not even saying that out of nostalgia because I watched it for the first time as like a 20-year-old. So I
Yeah.
hope I have some credit there for
Some
that.
non nostalgia goggles. Very
Yeah.
important.
Um, I'm trying. I want to try to focus on things that maybe this adaptation did better than the 1990 version. I know at the very least, I think they chose better actors for all the adults.
The
In this,
casting felt really good.
the casting felt really good, but casting can only do so much for the script. um, One thing I did kind of want to talk about, uh, Willer got to talk a lot about Richie and his hate of him, and I actually got some really interesting stuff to say about it. Um, because a lot of stuff you talked about, I'm gonna agree with you on some points.
just,
Um,
I just was remembering Pennywise is not a queer ally.
Guys, I found a really weird review, and it was this stuff like it was like it was like days after the movie came out, and it was like everyone like we've seen that since it 2017, Pennywise has become something of a gay icon. But in the first few minutes of it 2019, we dispel any notion that Pennywise could be a queer ally.
And I'm just like, since when? I guess I don't have an eye for it, but
Yeah,
interesting analysis.
it
Sorry
was a
for sorry
yeah.
for interrupting, but please do
No,
tell us
that
about
was
Richie.
like the most entertaining review I've ever read. But
So bizarre.
with Richie, I remember a lot of stuff you said was like stuff about how he's not a person that can like ever really be serious. He has like jokes at a lot of really uncalled for moments, and a lot of his jokes end up not even being that funny to the characters in the movie, if not the people in the real life movie audience. Though
Mhm.
I do think generally people do laugh at his jokes.
Yeah, he definitely had some good ones, and I feel like that they've been reviewed pretty
Yeah,
positively. For me, they were very tension breaking all the time.
yeah. And I kind of kept those things you said in mind going into the movie because I actually really loved Richie in the 2017 version. Um, and keeping those things you said in mind, I think the movie has like some really good like a really good approach to Richie, and I think the movie itself actually agrees with you about Richie himself. Um, because characters said a lot of the same things you said about Richie, where there's at least one moment in the movie where he makes a joke during like a really bad moment, and people are like, "Fucking serious? Like, are you serious?"
But
Um,
even the "Are you serious" was kind of played for laughs, and I wish like it
and
was a little bit more critical.
and even then, if you don't think he's funny, the movie reinforces this by the fact that he he's a successful comedian, but he doesn't write any of his own jokes.
Yeah.
And I think the movie is kind of reinforcing the fact that this is a man that he uses humor as a coping mechanism, even if he isn't necessarily good at it. Um, and I think at the end of the movie, like throughout the entire movie, anytime something horror filled is happening, he's cracking these jokes. And I think very skillfully, the one moment that he does not crack jokes is at the end of the movie where he's finally letting himself grieve over his
Okay.
lost friend. Um, so I had some fun moments with Richie. And I feel like I wouldn't have got those moments if I didn't hear your criticism of the character. Um,
How did you
so
feel about like what I consider kind of a forced plot line that didn't really have any roots in the original movie, as far as I could tell, where Richie was in love with Eddie all along, and it's like it came out of nowhere in my eyes.
yeah, and this is like I'm like this clearly was not set up in the 2017 version at all. And like I won't say that every movie adaptation is going to have to be exactly the same as the source material, but I do think maybe I think the question I asked myself coming out is like, did we need this, and why do we need it?
It honestly felt like gay representation to get like ticket sales. You know, like it didn't feel like it was good representation because there's nothing to do with it about in the plot. It just comes in at the end where it's like, oh, by the way, also this. Are you feeling emotional about it? Yes, yes. And it's like,
Because like
if it was set up, I wouldn't have minded at all. Like, if it was also different from the source material, if they also put some good hints in chapter one.
because like I've always been a really big fan of like gay representation. For example, like in I think Steven Universe was kind of like it was one of the first cartoons to openly show that kind of relationship, and I think it's doing a really good job at making the kids who watch it maybe more accepting of that type of thing. And I think the key difference between that and this is that those characters were originally written that way, and because they were originally written that day, they were originally written that way rather. There's less of a notion that maybe they were written that way just to get sympathy points or sell tickets. Like I feel like if a character is rewritten to be something they're not, I'm more likely to think that the writers aren't being sincere about it.
Yeah, and you can go many ways with this, but I've looked online. No one's really latched onto this. I feel like this felt flat on everybody, as far as I saw.
If nothing else, I do think that introducing that element gave us a bigger focus on these two characters than we ever got in the 1990s adaptation, which, I mean, I'll always take that because the 1990s adaptation, while we do get to look at everybody, it focuses much more heavily on Bill, Ben, and Bev, which I mean are like my favorites anyway.
They're great in this one. I really like those three. Aside from the fact that Bill just ends up like cheating on his wife, and he also doesn't get Bev, and just like, oh well, shit happens.
Bill is quite the boy. He is still my favorite character. And
James McAvoy. Everyone talks about Bill Hader. James McAvoy effortlessly reverting back into stuttering when he gets into dairy. That's good shit. I thought he stole the show.
Like both him and the child actor who played Bill, and I'm so sorry for not remembering your name if you're listening. Like I think holy shit, like that would be so intimidating, I think, to have to play a character with like selective stuttering.
And it's
But
so good.
they executed it so well, and like this was just way better casting for Bill than the 1990s version had. Like holy shit. And I really loved Bill's climactic moment in this movie, where we see him with like the illusion of Georgie and the illusion of his younger self, and you know he has to finally tell himself that no, like it wasn't my fault. But then we're also introduced to something that we have never heard from Bill before, that maybe he wasn't actually sick that day. Maybe he just didn't want to play with his brother.
See, I always thought that was like obviously the point. Is that not in the originals?
No.
Oh,
And
really?
I feel like that's something like it was in the book, obviously, but
Okay.
I don't think they ever vocalized that in the 1990s version. And I feel like I feel like that is a huge element. Like that complicates the situation so much more for Bill's mind, I think.
See, in my mind, with how much grief he had, I was just like, yeah, obviously, that was what happened. So yeah, I'm glad that they at least confirm it if there was any suspicions.
It's a very different setup for this moment than the 1990s adaptation, because the 1990s adaptation doesn't have the younger Bill there. He basically confronts Georgie in the sewer, and Georgie's like, you know, you let me die, all this stuff. And one of my favorite like lines in movie history, and it might just be the execution of it, but he like looks the fake Georgie in the eye and he's like, you are not Georgie. Georgie is dead, and it is not my fault.
Yeah, that's really good.
And I've always loved it, and I feel like that was a really short but impactful scene for me in the 1990s version, and I feel like while it's very different in this version, I think we get much more emphasis put on it. So I was really grateful for that.
Last thing I would like to bring up is how did you feel about Eddie? Because Eddie was my favorite character, but then he just becomes a bumblefuck in this movie. Um, and he kind of does the Richie thing, where it's like if it's not Richie breaking the tension, it's Eddie.
So,
I was just
like, the way you described like Richie when we last talked about this movie is in a way the way I feel about Eddie, where I'm just like, I can this guy fucking shut up, like, and like
it's the scene where he gets stabbed in the face is the most fucking awkward thing.
I fucked your mom.
And then he's just like, why are you still wearing a mullet, idiot? And then it's like, what? Okay, just the scene where he's with his mom in the basement. By the way, that wasn't his actual mom? They never address it, right?
No, it was.
But then
no.
he's down there and he's choking the leper, and then the leper throws up on him, and they play a song that I can't quite remember what song it was, but it just did not fit. I think that was the exact moment where I was like, this movie could have been cool.
And I kind of had this thought where, especially during the scary moments in this movie, where I feel like the 1990s adaptation, the scares they face as adults are much more tailored to their individual characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like something that would be traumatic to them, whereas in this, it's just, oh, monster is gonna hurt you.
Big toy with an axe. The stand in the freezer though. That's pretty creepy. But,
yeah, holy shit.
But they're also cracking jokes during it, so
yeah, it's not that sad for them. So, overall, like I'm a huge fan of the franchise, and you know what? Okay, one more thing I want to talk about. Very into the movie. I feel like the 2017 and 2019 are much more into the image of Pennywise rather than the creature. They really love the clown because I think that's what's going to sell merchandise, and so they show a lot less of like the otherworldly creature that Pennywise actually is.
Are you saying in the old ones or the new ones?
In the new ones.
Oh, interesting.
Like in his dying moments, like he's still like just this little baby clown, when in reality he's like this otherworldly eldritch horror.
I thought like in 2017 too, when Pennywise opens his mouth in that way that he does, for me that really sells it. And you see the deadlights in there, like
yeah.
I think that looks really cool. I don't really remember what he transforms to in the old ones. I just remember like an actual spider kind of thing.
He was like this giant spider alien, and it looks really shitty because 1990. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. Anyway, I love the It franchise. Man, okay. I know we told Tyler it'd be like 5 to 10 minutes, so I don't want to go into my whole spiel. But
mini spiel.
I think that Stephen King is an exclusively better Lovecraft. I bought a collection of Lovecraft's books, and I read a lot of them. And both Stephen King and Lovecraft often do cosmic horror. In fact, the Lovecraft probably invented cosmic horror. But I think a key difference is that, like, Lovecraft he was not a very anthrocentric person. He was very in the, like, humans are nothing, they're worthless, and I think he was the kind of militant atheist that even other atheists are like, Jesus Christ, like, shut up. And so, because he didn't really view any value in humans, all of his stories have no human element to them. There's nothing really in them that's going to change you as a person, and there's no real morals in the story. But he does have really cool ideas, really cool creatures, and just really foreign horror elements. And I feel like Stephen King gets those same things, these really cool these cool ideas and these just really alien type of horrors, but it's character centric. He focuses on people, and I think that makes him a better Lovecraft.
That's a good spiel.
That's my short version of that rant. So you're welcome, everybody.
I'm sure the Lovecraft fans are just dying to find you.
Yeah, I'll be waiting for a bomb in my mailbox.
Or an Eldritch Horror. All right. That's it for Take It, You Worm.
Take it.
Take it.
Hey everybody, it's me, it's your boy, it's Cheaty.
Hey, Paisano.
Hi, it's Eleanor. I'm an Arizona trash. Tyler, Tyler, you've recently caught up to season 3 of The Good Place.
I finished it.
I just wanted. I mean, there's a season 4 coming out right now. The first episode aired Thursday on Joe's birthday.
Yeah.
Oh wait, dude. Oh, I bet that's on Hulu.
It is on Hulu. Would you like to watch this with me at some point? Actually,
hey, I'm glad I got Hulu.
Hey,
not sponsored by Hulu, but I love Hulu.
Hashtag sponsored by Hulu. Let's watch that sometime. But for now, tell us about your thoughts on seasons 1, 2, 3. Bradley, leave the room.
Okay, I'm gone.
I just thought about that.
Ping me when I.
I'll call you in a sec.
Yeah.
We need like earmuffs time. Like everybody kind of has earmuffs time, it seems. But anyway,
except we were.
It honestly ended up being a great show so far from what I've seen. I feel like sitting down and watching the show week by week, I probably would have enjoyed it way less. And that's just because during the second season, after should we do I need to say there will be spoilers?
Full spoilers.
Yeah. Like I'm gonna spoil everything.
On this podcast, we've done a spoiler free, a very long spoiler full, and now we're gonna do your quickie.
Okay, so the second season, like they're after the big reveal that they've been in hell the whole time, I was like, oh, that's a cool twist, but I was like, okay, so now what? Like, that's kind of the thing. The first few episodes of the second season just kind of have them replaying these gags out for a little bit. And I'm like, okay, like I get the joke, that's funny. But then the mission kind of becomes like, I don't know. It kind of gets stale, like episode 3 and 4, because they're still like repeating the same joke a little bit.
See, but one of those episodes, they do like a whole season's worth of gags in one, and I think that's where they had me again. I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, like walking into season 2, I thought it was gonna be like we would get more like going from season 1 to season 2. I was just like, oh, okay, so I guess the way they're gonna elongate this show is that every season is a restart. There's gonna be something new or different thrown in there, whatever. And then you get to like episode 3, you're like, no, fuck it, we're gonna tell them right now and go for it.
So yeah, you were saying, Tyler, basically season 2 then becomes a mission to help out Michael and not getting Sean involved, because then he would get retired. So it's them banding together.
Yeah. I really like the cast as well because it's Kristen Bell.
Kristen Bell, my love.
Kristen Bell and the actor who plays Chitty are fantastic.
William Harper is his name. He's so fucking funny.
But the actress who plays I'm forgetting all the names right now. I need like
Camille.
a good place IMDb.
Yeah.
I need a good place IMDb.
Is it Tahani or
Tahani?
Janet.
Tahani and Jason and
Janet and Michael.
Yeah, like
that's
honestly, those 6 together are so fantastic. They're like honestly they've been in all 46 episodes together. Like they have been in every single episode so far.
Yeah.
And Ted being like the long-term actor he has been is just fantastic. Jason Mendoza is you don't think you would like him as a comedy relief character, but I do.
At first I didn't, and then I'm just like, God, dude, he's so sweet. He's so like, dumb and sweet. You can't help.
There's the weird love triangle that happens a lot too.
Oh, they all want to fuck each other. It's crazy.
It's fantastic, and I just like Janet learns to love because this guy is so stupid, and it's like the argument of like, how wrong can you be? It's like being wrong 3 times makes him right, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah, I like the reboot where they're like, and where Jason figures out, he's like, really? Even Jason figured it out, and then he does the snap and reboots it.
They bring in Maya Rudolph as the judge, who is fantastic.
Oh my god, she's great.
Adam Scott is Trevor.
Holy shit.
It-
Big Step Brothers vibe from Adam Scott here.
Oh yeah, it's turned up a notch too, and there's a lot of great comedians who just make cameos every single episode.
Sean. His deadpan humor is great as well.
Mm-hmm. And overall, it has a weird wholesome vibe to it.
I'd say it's very wholesome. Yeah,
it was really funny. I was watching the show with somebody, and it's the first 3 episodes when Eleanor is realizing how like crappy of a person she was.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't realize, like, you realize a little bit she's being crappy, but I was watching it with somebody and they're like, oh, hey, I do that. Oh, wait, I do that. Oh, wait, I do that. And they're still in the good place. And she's like, huh. I see now.
Interesting.
But yeah, I don't really have much else to say other than, like, I would say it's a top tier show that anybody can jump in and enjoy. It's for all ages, except maybe younger audiences who.
I wouldn't say jump in. It's definitely a show where it's like you need to start from the beginning and go all the way.
Oh yeah, no, I mean like jump in the phrase like, dude, just sit down and watch it. Nobody needs to tell you anything about it.
Interesting thing about young kids liking it. So I listen to a lot of podcasts at work because it's a good time killer, and I do listen to the Good Place podcast. Sean's the host in there. I forget his name. But he talked about how like parents come up to him and they're like, my kids are actually learning about morals and actually thinking about the impact that they have thanks to your show. And I was like, that's really sweet because like you have this really good comedy show that actually has a really good message and actually has a dramatic storyline, and it's all in 23-minute episodes of just like also top tier humor. Really, really unique mix of stuff.
The writing is just so fantastic because also they have a lot of inside jokes that continue throughout the show.
Yeah,
and none of them get annoying.
They're used just the right amount. Like nobody likes ethics professors, and just Eleanor saying you're basic and stuff.
None
like
of them are forced by the actors and actresses either. Like there's this joke about jalapeno poppers. And Jason really wants jalapeno poppers in heaven, but then when they go to the bad place, like they're like having this like party and everything, and there's just like jalapeno poppers everywhere. It's just like, oh man, that's just great.
There's little jokes where it's like in the first episode they talk about all these bad things that you can do and that gets you negative points, and then you see some of the characters exhibiting all of those things, like having a vanity license plate or mansplaining to a woman, and then you just get explanations of that of people doing it in the bad place.
I really like the duality of Michael.
Oh, he's so good.
I really like how he was a good guy and then he became a bad guy, and then they really drove home, no, he's gonna try and be a good guy. Like they did not mess around with like that character's complexity too much. Like, no, he is going to help them. He is going to stick by them. This is not some complex character where we're going to have him be good at certain times and then be bad at certain times. And it's like, even though he's like a demon, you know, like he like start like a third season, he starts to find his own moral journey on Earth. And that's great.
And there's points. Go ahead. Sorry.
That was me. I was Joe.
Hey, Joe.
I was going to say Michael's extremely important to the show, especially his arc, because a big theme of the show is about the people around you are the ones that help you become a good person.
Yeah.
So
your good place is the people around you.
Yeah. And so like Michael, like realizing that he really does care about the people around him, like really changes his character to like, oh, I need to like this feels so good. I need like it needs to be for everybody kind of thing. Like he wants to make the world better or the life better because of the people around him, not just because it's a good thing to do. It's kind of selfish, but it's what drives you to become a better person.
It's really shown. I think it's a season 2 episode where they have to reset Janet because she's going to blow up.
Janet. They have to like obliterate her, like send her in the space.
Yeah, because she's learning emotions. She's learning how to be sort of human, and it's kind of breaking her. And she's like, Michael, you got to kill me. Why won't you do it? Why are you making a big deal about this? I'll just revive. He's like, it's because of friends, Janet. And it's like, oh, that's the moment where Michael really expresses that he cares about them, and you just get all those warm feelings. How do y'all feel about the setup? Joe, you're the only one who's watched episode 1. I tried to earlier and I couldn't do it because my Hulu was fucking up.
Okay.
Was forking up. Sorry. How do you how do you feel about the setup of like
Season 4
like the general setup of humanity it's become so complex to do a wholly good act.
That punchline to like that you just said right there with the judge is probably my favorite moment in the show so far.
Where she goes to Earth and she's like, also I'm black there and they do not like that.
Yeah, like she's on Earth for 10 minutes their time, and it's just like, oh man, they don't like black people down there.
And it's so the show could have been ruined for me if the twist was there is no good place. Like, everything is negative, it's nihilism. The fact that there is a good place, but that it's just so good to do a wholly good act these days. I just think that is such a good way to take this premise and feed into this experiment of, if we give people the scenario of the good place, we can make anyone bring out the best in themselves. And I'm really excited to see that play through in season 4.
The big thing like there at the end of season 3 that I really liked was that like you shouldn't be judged by like the far ripples of your actions. Essentially, like if you buy like someone flowers, but those flowers happen to come from a company that happens to like genetically modify them, grow them, and have a bunch of like wage slaves harvest them every day.
Yes, Joe, the craft Guatemalan macaroni slaves.
Yeah. You can't be like so aware of everything going on in the entire world's life. Like that's not fair to you as a human, that you already have so much that you're focusing on right in front of you. To think about so much further out is just unreasonable, which goes back to saying that the people around you, the people that care about you, is what makes you a good person. You know, like when you surround by people that care about you and are there for you, that's what brings out the best in people. It's not when they're thinking about everyone else in the world, they're thinking about the people they care about most.
There's some really good episodes in season 3 after they're like, guys, no matter what we do, we're not going to the good place, and they're just like, let's do good just because. Let's just be good people because maybe we can help others get to the good place. And I was like, man, that's really sweet. Everyone's grown so much at this point.
Yeah, it honestly, I think as the consumer watching it, it makes you feel not crazy.
Yeah,
living in like a they're like as like we know we live in a chaotic world and we don't know how to handle it and we feel like bad people a lot. They're like, the judge coming back is like, man, there's like all this crazy crap going on down there. Like, what the heck is going on?
I'm black.
And it's like, oh, we're not crazy, you know?
It really sucks. Okay. You gotta believe this.
So I just realized something, like that kind of drives home the point of like why it's important to like it's the people around you that make you a better person. Is at the very beginning of this series, not series, but the season. It might have been the end of season 2. Eleanor joins that like help group that the guy is doing, like the environment group, and she tries her best. She tries to do everything she can, but she just hates it.
She even likes it. It just doesn't pay off. Like, at the end of the day, when the going gets tough, it's like, I'm not gaining anything from being this good person. It was like a really real message. Like, shit. Sometimes good deeds they are not benefiting you in the short term, and it's sometimes you just can't keep them up.
Yeah, and it's exhausting to be like a perfect angel all the time.
Yeah,
like it drives you down. Like it needs that's a whole other class of person to like do that every single day of your life.
That there is the episode with the gag where they do try to find the guy with the highest score.
Yes,
the guy who got really high on mushrooms and like guessed like 98% of everything.
Yeah, Doug Forsett.
Yeah. Oh man, that's great.
Good gag. And he's miserable, by the way. He fucking hates it.
Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna walk for 8 days now
to deposit these like 80 pennies or something.
Yeah.
I have to do a 3-hour ceremony for a snail that accidentally died in my property.
Tyler, I had to do this, and you had to too. Rank the 6 characters from least to best.
Oh boy. Least to. Oh man. Oof.
I know. I said something and then I slept on it. I was like, my whole order was wrong. I regret everything
I
I
don't
said.
think I can do that.
That's fair. That is super fair.
Oh man. Okay. Like she is one of my favorites, and it's just because she can pull off bangs. But Tani, not too dynamic of a character. She's like, you're making me do this, but none of them are bad
They're
characters.
all fantastic. It's just like order your babies.
Ah.
This is your bad place. You don't have to.
And Jason, and then
It gets really hard.
Chidi, then Michael, then Eleanor, and then Janet.
Man,
Ooh.
that episode where Janet is every character, that is Emmy worthy. She was playing everyone so fucking well.
Janet is a fantastic character. She drives her not a robot, not a she home very well.
Yeah.
She's one of, if not the most unique character I might have ever seen. When you just think about it, she's crazy unique.
One of my favorite parts is when she they're having the bar fight, and if she's halfway into like the portal thing, she can spawn stuff.
Yeah.
And she gets her powers back, and it's great.
One of my favorite jokes was the first time they go to Earth and they're dicking around and they come back, and the judge is like, "What the fuck are you doing?" and just pissing off or just being angry at them. Like Janet's like a printer, and all of her stuff that backlogged starts showing up in that new place. She's like, "Oh, this isn't good," and like a road roller comes out from the sky.
I like when she's like, Michael's like, Janet, tell me you do not have a cactus in your hand. I do not have a cactus. This is the files. Janet, trust me, Michael, I would not lie about this. And then she hands him the fucking cactus, and we all knew it was going to be the cactus, and we still laugh.
Oh, that was a great episode. Oh, my favorite part is every time she tries to, they try to reboot her. She's like, it will
"No!"
be deathly real. She's like, no, don't kill me. I have kids.
Two other good jokes. Jeremy Baramy and the time knife fucking killed me.
Jeremy Baramy and the time knife?
Yes.
I thought the Jeremy Baramy was like a play on timey-wimey stuff from Doctor Who.
I could see it.
But it's Jeremy Baramy. It's like, what's the I for?
Oh, that's Tuesdays, but and then he's like, "This broke me."
He goes, "That's Tuesdays," and everybody went, "Yes." Everybody goes, "Yes." I
remember getting to that episode, and the title was just Jeremy Baramy. I'm like, "What the fuck?" And I watched it, and like, I had to pause the episode because I was just dying for 10
And then Chidi with the time knife, he's like, "I saw the time knife," and then he's just losing it.
I feel really bad because I just finished watching The Good Place, and I was sitting around last night. I was like, I can either watch Coco again or restart The Good Place.
All right, we gotta get Bradley back in here, man. That was a fun talk.
He's on the space station. He took my spot.
Yeah.
Special guest Bradley gets to come back to
What
Earth.
were we talking about next? I forget.
We'll find out.
We'll Sands.
Welcome
Alright.
to Little Witch Academia cast.
Real quick, I wanted to talk about manga that I caught up on the plane.
Yes.
One of them is My Hero Academia. I'm not gonna spoil anything because I know you guys are anime watchers.
Willer spoiled that booty for me.
I did spoil one panel for Bradley, and it was the darkest chapter in all of My Hero. It was like I was reading Worm again.
Yeah, like he showed me the panel, and I was like, I have very little knowledge of My Hero, but I was like, I never imagined anything in the story would get that dark.
Yeah, I don't have much knowledge, but this ain't it, Chief. My Hero, after where the anime is, you're gonna get to a really good arc. That's my favorite arc. It's called the Gentle arc. You'll know it when you get there. Really like that arc. But the arc that just wrapped up was focused on the villains, and it was really, really good. And there was this mini arc that kind of ruined My Hero for me. They're doing like a training exercise with Class B, and not only was it kind of boring, but they introduced plot points that kind of are jumping the shark of basically the basis of My Hero Academia. I was really worried about the show of the manga at that point. This arc reinstilled my faith in it. It established the main villain as a very good main villain once again.
Good. That I remember you talking about that, and I was like, I don't know if I want to read My Hero if it's gonna do this kind of thing.
It's to be fair, it hasn't focused on that character in a hot minute that I was worried about. But man, it was just so quality, and the arc after the one the anime is gonna wrap up on, I think, is also just like, it's short, it's sweet. Gentle's the best character, you'll know one day. I also caught up with Promise Neverland, which is something I don't think any of y'all have read or watched except for Bradley.
Yeah, I did the first like 30
Arc.
chapters.
Yeah.
And it's extremely quality, but I don't know if it's a story for me.
I told Bradley that it was like Death Note level plot games, and that really got him thinking, and he did not feel it was up to snuff with Death Note. So with Promise Neverland, that first arc is like kind of the pinnacle. It's really tough to beat an opening that strong. I think most people would agree with that. Not necessarily Bradley, but I feel like most of the fans are like, man, that first arc was insanely good. My favorite arc actually comes after. It's called the Goldie Pond arc. That is a very quality arc. We're reaching the last arc in Promise Neverland. And the point at which I caught up to, we have now gotten to the beginning of the climax of it that's been being built up for a long time. It's a series that's really interesting because it starts with like fully mind games, and then it becomes like action mind games. And that's around the part where like there's an arc that somehow even surpasses the first arc for me. Then there's a bit of a shift from that point, and that's when the manga kind of takes its first dip for me, where stuff starts kind of getting rushed. But I feel like with the setup of this last arc, it's getting back on track, so I'm optimistic. I also read more Dr. Stone. Tyler's the only one who is ahead of me at this point.
We might be.
I'm not caught up on it though.
I'm not caught up on it either. So like we might be in the same.
I got to the point where they got to that island and revelations were made, and I need to know what the hell that's about.
Yeah. We don't know yet.
I'm so interested.
I'm just like a couple of chapters ahead. They're doing this isn't a spoiler. They're doing like this beauty contest thing.
Is it with that girl? I just got introduced to this hot girl that everyone's like proposing to.
Okay, yeah. So you're a little. I may be like 3 or 4 chapters ahead of you.
I'll try to catch up maybe tonight or tomorrow, and then.
Yeah. I mean, I caught up all on One Piece today, so you could owe me that.
I owe you one. Well, the Destiny I will be playing is suffering enough for me.
Hey, I came to Disney.
That's a Joe thing. But also I benefited. All right, that's it for Willer's Manga Corner. See, it wasn't that bad. That was under 5 minutes.
What are we talking about now?
All right, there's one last thing in this podcast.
Yeah.
Before freaking you cast. This last thing, Bradley, you have a crossroad before you.
Okay.
Either you listen to very good Assassination Classroom discussion, or if you plan to ever read this, though, we will
I anticipate myself eventually giving it a shot.
So we need to send him back to the space station,
I'll do a spoiler-free section.
We're going to do a quick spoiler-free, then a Bradley goodbye arc.
That's a good idea.
All right.
And then Bradley will go to space to live off with Tyler's space family.
There you go.
All right. Joe literally finished Assassination Classroom while we were reading Worm and stuff. So
yeah, like he did. He went fast.
I literally at Disney the night before we left, I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, I want to read a manga. That's class I hear is really good. I'm going to download 60 chapters of that and just read it on the plane. And I did.
And he did.
As a note, do not Google Ass Class. The full thing is Assassination Classroom.
Yes. Or do, but don't tell your parents about it, wink.
Ooh.
Anyways, Assassination Classroom, its premise is this. Essentially, there is this tentacle monster thing that has shown up and has destroyed 3/4 of the moon, and says in 1 year's time, in March, he will do the exact same thing in the Earth. His only stipulation is that over the course of this year, he teaches these students of classroom 3E at the private school, and they have all the time of the school year to basically try to assassinate him. Whoever assassinates him gets a huge sum of money, saves the world, and yada yada yada.
I think it's in the billions of yen. It's,
Like,
it's
Yes,
good money.
it starts
Already,
it's 10 billion yen.
yeah, like you've never seen a premise like this before. Like,
Yeah.
what-
Very.
And so and the thing is about this alien is that he can't be harmed by like missiles or
Bullets.
regular knives or anything. They have to use custom made BB guns and knives that can cut his skin and pierce him and everything. And it also makes it extremely safe for the students to like kind of attempt whatever they want with him.
It's a good plot device so the students are not wielding actual guns.
But man, the first chapter of this series is so fucking strong.
Yes, really good introduction.
Like it tells you everything you need to know about the situation and who this being is, and understand perfectly what his motive, not perfectly, but understand like who he is as like a person, and kind of foresee the problem that's going to happen later down the line in this series. And ultimately the series, it really is about being the underdog, and you keep fighting even if it's impossible. It really was tremendous. I really liked it. I wish it was like maybe 20 chapters shorter, but that's okay. I still really enjoyed it. There were a lot of things that like I would read, I'm like, why are we doing this right now? And then in a bigger arc, it's like, oh, because they learned about that during this chapter, so it comes into play when you're doing this whole thing.
Or a lot of times it's like, this is a little chapter or two about character, so you get to learn more about them.
Yes,
that's what an anime is for.
Yeah. But like I really liked it, really enjoyed it. It's 180 chapters for the main kind of story, and then the last 5 chapters in the last volume are essentially just a bonus story that happens during the course of the year that happened off screen. But it was I really enjoyed it. I felt like it was a very heartfelt series. It was extremely funny. I was reading it next to Willer on the plane, and I was just laughing the entire time.
There's some very strong gags.
Some good jokes. It's a lot of Shonen Jump references as well, but like just enough to be funny and not over the top and overbearing.
Yeah, it's not.
Like,
it is not a like bo level gag after gag after gag kind of manga.
Yes, it knows when it needs to be funny, knows when it needs to be serious. I think the weakest part of the series is its action points, but even then, you can kind of like those you can overlook those action points.
There's some really good character moments in some of those action points, though.
That's true, there is, but like it really, I feel like it really dips in quality to me when we get to these like more shonen jumpy kind of action segments, where like the best and fun parts of that is when it's more of a slice of life gag manga, where like you're having these really weird interactions between these assassins and Kuro sensei and the students themselves, and really like the students learning about how to be better students and people in their life. And
I do think the action points are good, like stopgaps to show the progression of the students as well. So I think they're important for that, to show like, oh, the skills they're learning is helping them deal with stressful situations outside of school and their unique scenario.
Yes, I agree on that. It's just I felt like I had more enjoyment when it came to like the teacher segments and the kids like taking classes. And but the biggest thing that I was super impressed about this is that, so like every like quarter of the story, there's like the midterms and the final
Those
exam.
Those are the best.
And like the way he represents this like trial of them taking these tests is so good. It's so creative.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
And you feel like you understand what the students are going through during that test, because as adults we've all been there and taking those midterms and finals, and you're like, yeah, that's what it's like.
The stakes are even bigger for these kids because their school is cutthroat.
Yes, and it has its own dynamic, which I really don't want to get into because it's really kind of
it's fun to find out about that. So I would consider it a slight spoiler.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed it. It's a really tight 180 chapters. I really liked it. Like it's a good, like, it feels complete and finished, which is something I really appreciate.
Worth noting that Joe read it in 3 days. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched the anime. I cried. It was great.
No tears here.
I like just the story in general made me like feel a lot of things throughout several moments.
Yeah.
It was really funny you mentioned Bobobo, because there is a moment in the anime where there's a cameo clip for like 1 second long, and it just shows the backs of some anime characters.
Yes.
And it's Psyche K, Kuroko, and Bobobo, and then one other. I don't know who the last person is. I think I read Switch Girl at one point.
It's probably Sket Dance or something.
But yeah, it's just like it just shows the backs of these very distinct characters. I was like, hey, that's
Joe sent me a picture of this character doing a pose that Luffy does later in the series, and it's very funny. I think that's good for the spoiler section. Joe, do you wanna give it like a score or final thought or something before we exile Bradley?
I give it
Ta-da!
a 4.5 out of 5.
Da-da-da!
Yeah, I think if it was just like a little bit shorter, I would have liked it a lot more. There are some things that I look at and I'm just like, this feels kind of like just put in there. I'll explain more, but there are definitely like some points where he pulled his punches on some things, and I'm just like, that kind of like spoiled it a little bit for me. But I'll talk about it later on our.
We will.
Yeah.
Bradley, my good sir.
Koro Sensei is a yellow belly.
He is.
Koro Sensei is one of my favorite manga characters, so you watch your mouth.
But he is yellow belly.
Does he even have a belly? It's hard to say. Bradley, why don't you give us your sweet goodbyes with a...
I thought you were about to say, why don't you give us a score?
Yeah, give us a score for our review, spoiler-free, of Ass Class.
It's
You don't have to do this.
Guys, I'm trying to balance talking and blowing my nose. Sorry.
Give us our hypothetical and then get out of here, you little scamp.
So, you wake up one day and you're back in high school, and your teacher walks in, but he has completely yellow skin, and he says, "You guys have to kill me before class is over. I destroy the planet. Go."
Jesus Christ!
What do you do?
This is a darker topic in America, so I don't know.
Oh shit! Actually, don't answer that question.
Oops.
Oopsie.
Right,
Shit happens, bitch. All right.
I need to go flush my nose.
Bye, Bradley. Everyone say bye.
All right.
All right. Spoiler time.
Okay.
Is this? Am I new here?
No, we're not technically in the freaking UCast yet. But
oh dang! I thought I made it to the final level.
You know what? Fuck it. Freaking UCast starts now. Woo! Every time I close my eyes. All right. Welcome to the Freaking UCast, the podcast segment where Bradley is not allowed, and sometimes Tyler is allowed.
Yes.
Today we have special guest Tyler, who will be discussing Assassination Classroom spoiler talk. Let's go, Joe.
Okay. So, Jesus Christ.
That's such a good ending.
It really is. It does something that mangas do that they don't do a lot, which is in storytelling. There is when you go through the whole story, you get to your climax, and then you have the denouement, which is like the resolution, the end of everything, like what happens afterwards. And a lot of times in series, you just get the climax, and your denouement is like, and it's done, kind of deal. And in Ass Class, it really, the fact that they took half a volume to just really kind of wrap up everyone else's story and like really let you know that here's where the kids are, here's where everything goes, it just makes it so much better. Yeah. And I'm so appreciative of it. Like, it's like, oh, it feels so good to know, like, this is like, it had a reason, like Koro Sensei did what he needed to do and like had an impact on these kids' lives. Like, it just feels good to see that like ripple effect and aftermath of everything.
I thought it was so important and good that this series was like, I have a story to tell, I got a couple fun arcs, but the time's gonna come, and most importantly, it did not dodge away from the premise. So this is like, There's only a few series that I've read while they were finishing. One of them is Ice Shield 21. Naruto doesn't count because I stopped reading it and then I picked it up after it was done. So this might have been the second or third series. Kuroko Basket was before that as well. This might be the first. Maybe me and Tyler can talk about that someday. This might be the first series like since then that I finished while it was coming out. And as it was coming out, a lot of people were worried that it was gonna sidestep the premise of killing Koro Sensei. There's even an arc where they go to space and they're like, there is a way we can do this.
And they're like, oh, we already did it. He's not gonna blow up. It's like
I forgot they went to fucking space.
They went to fucking space.
And they held them hostage.
That was the yeah, that was the spoiler Joe posted where I was like, don't look at that, because Joe was like, man, Ass Class going to space before blank series, and we're like, no. Yeah, and wait, so how did that turn out again? Like they fixed the issue, but what happened?
So what happened was very early on there was the science girl Okoda, who was trying to poison him. He's like, no, you have to do it this way, and like gives her something that he thinks will affect him in some way, and he drinks it. And when they go to space and they go through it, I was like, oh, we already did that. Like that was like the whole like problem was that because of all their assassination attempts, you actually accidentally fixed them basically.
Really? They did that way early on, like in the early chapters? What the fuck? I don't remember
She's
that.
like, oh, I've made this before.
Weird.
Yeah. So, but that definitely was just like I knew he was going to die. Like I just had a feeling that like there's no way this doesn't end with them like crying over everything.
Well, I think it's partially because how we've talked about the series. When I'm like, man, the ending's really sad, and Tyler's like, I cried at the end. You get the idea where it's like, okay, you didn't cry for nothing.
Yeah.
As we were reading it, because there was still a percentage that he was gonna still explode, right? That was the whole thing.
It was less than 1%, but like,
and they
even
didn't
I was
risk
like,
it.
that's still really high.
Yeah. I'm so glad that they like really went through with it at the end. His final blitz on like the final villain is so badass, and then it just leaves him exhausted. He's like, "Remember, hold down my tentacles." I'm like, "No, Koro Sensei, no."
And it's kind of perfect because it kind of comes back all full circle of like him solving like kind of the issue of what happened and like really making amends of what happened to what's her name? I forgot what her name is.
The girl he loved.
Who?
The woman he loved?
Yes. The teacher that he ends up replacing, and like being able to fix her little sister, which was a weird twist I did not see coming.
I don't know if I like that twist.
It's kind of whatever. There are some moments where like, oh, this feels very forced, or like, for example, the reveal of the guy in like the ninja outfit was the guy that made him. Feels like that seems kind of like you had an idea for that guy, but you decided to make him one person.
I feel like that could work. With the tentacle twist, the thing that made it a little better is that there is some foreshadowing. There's some panels where like it's foreshadowed.
Yes.
You can probably look those up. They're pretty neat. So I like when stuff like that happens.
But like I really like the whole point of the story being that like you don't get better unless you try and fail and like face your adversity head on. Like that's pretty much what Koro Sensei's like. That's what he's supposed to represent. Of like, this is an impossible task set in front of you, but you have to keep trying and going after it every single day and as much as you can, because it's the only way you're going to triumph over it. And they don't get him until like the very last moment, essentially.
A good overlying theme of the story is them finding more and more weaknesses. I think, arguably, aside from the ending, my favorite point of the story is the really, really well planned out assassination attempt in the summer vacation, where they set up this entire elaborate like water dome effect. They make sure he's already molted. They close out all of his exits, and then he still has one more trick up his sleeve, which is like his ball form. Or whatever. But that was just a good culmination of all of the tricks that they've learned up until that point. The snipers were really clutch at that moment as well. Like, it was a really good moment for the whole class. And you get moments like that every time they do tests. Karma and Nagisa and the rest of the class really come together. Just very feel-good moments, showing their progression.
And I like that so like the classes, the students of like 3E are supposed to be the misfit like people that like cause trouble or failing, or like they're basically the people you don't want to teach.
Yeah.
And
The structure of the school was a really big hooking point for me. That was the layer that the story needed to go from good to great, in my opinion.
and like it really was just about like how these kids, like they're in a cyclical kind of thing of like, oh, I'm at the bottom of the school, it doesn't matter because no one's gonna let me like rise up because I'm at the bottom. No one's gonna like pay attention to me. And it's like, no, you just have to believe in yourself, and you have to like you have to pull yourself up and really prove to everyone else that in fact you're at the better advantage, because when you do prove to them, you're going to look so much better in their eyes, and like Koro Sensei has that really like powerful like thing he says something really good at the very beginning in the first chapter. It's like I'm glad everyone's going after me because they realize how powerful that I am. Like it's like the reason why people like look down on me or really go after me is because they know there's something about me that scares them, and because of that I know I'm powerful enough and I can beat them. And I was like, that's like a really good thing to say, especially for a kid that like feels like, oh, I'm getting bullied all the time. It's like, no, they're picking on you because there's something about them that makes them scared.
Yeah.
And that brings like the principal character in.
He's so good.
And his son.
They're so good.
And the way they like establish the hierarchy against the Assassination Classroom, the 3B.
Yeah, 3E.
3E. And that they have such an interesting dynamic in the way that as 3E continues to prove themselves time and time again, that they start to like understand more. And that's I don't know.
Yeah,
the son was. I really like the son character from what I recall. It's been a long time since I've read it, but they just keep trying to crush Class 3E, and they always survive. And the principal's kind of starts worrying that his system is not working. And I remember him having fairly compelling reasons for having his shit system, like the way he explains it, and just as an antagonist, I really really liked him. He was the antagonist to the educational side of the story, and I felt like he was really menacing. He has some shots with his son that look terrifying. It's good shit.
Yeah, it's he's great because like, and when you get to his backstory, like, okay, him and Koro Sensei are coming from the same place, where you as a teacher have to make your students stronger.
Oh yeah.
And like where Koro Sensei differs is that Koro Sensei believes in the students that he has and can bring the strength out from them, while the principal is very much like, you have to prove to everyone else that you're stronger than them, that you have to step on their backs and climb your way up, that you, by getting on top of everyone else, you are in fact stronger.
Wasn't his backstory that some of his students committed suicide and that broke him?
One of his students was bullied in high school and committed suicide.
Yeah.
And, it's just like, which is heartbreaking. Like that was like, that's awful.
I remember thinking like your system kind of enables this also though. Which I guess is villains never realize that they're wrong.
Right. But he did. He had he came to an understanding at the very end.
Yes, true. I'm glad that he did. Yeah.
Yeah, which is good because full circle once again. Everyone, great growth in this series, and just, but like he's a great character. Like especially an antagonist that like starts off as kind of like in the background, and then over time you realize how much he's stacking this deck against the class and Koro Sensei the entire time.
Every time they foreshadow that he has another plan coming, you're just like, oh boy, he coming.
Yeah. And the show, the manga, it's such a weird kind of like, it tilts your brain in so many different ways, because there are times where there are people trying to assassinate Koro Sensei that aren't the students, and you're just like, I don't want this to happen. I don't want them to win. And then when the students do, you're like, oh god, please do it. You're doing so good.
The students say it too. It's like, we worked so freaking hard, and these cheaters come in and they want to kill him. And it's like, we want to kill him. It's such a cool dynamic.
I will say though, the anime is worth giving a watch just because of the way that they build up some of the cinematics that animation does. It's great. It's a good anime.
I watched the first episode. It looks really good, and it like I'm just like, wow, I would watch that. It's only 24 episodes.
It's more. It's 2 seasons.
56.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
My one thing about the anime is that there are some parts that they had to rush through. For example, I was looking at the chapter per thing breakdown. There's a chapter where they do like 10. There's an episode where they do 10 chapters in one episode. They have to skip through a lot of like the fun events, like the baseball game and the exams. They kind of have to rush some sequences in it. But the anime itself is really good, and if you're not into manga, I still totally think you should watch the anime then. If you like anime.
Yeah.
Not only that, some of the best OPs ever seen this side the Pecos.
Ooh, bold statements.
They have good OPs, but I also like Konosuba OP, so keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind. One thing I wanted to bring up is the series for me. The point where I really love the series. First, I think the baseball game is pretty early. That's when I was really getting into it.
So good. I was just like, this is a great. Like I messaged Willard, but I was like, this baseball arc is fantastic.
I don't even remember what happens. I just remember loving it.
It like basically like they know they can't hit like the ball. Like that's impossible to learn within like 3-4 days time. Except for the one guy that plays baseball. So they all bunt. And so it's like, oh, that's a clever way to go about it. But then the team ends up like basically they end up like getting really close to the batter.
Yeah.
So they can't like bunt, they'll catch it. And like usually when that happens, the umpire will say like you're harassing the batter, you need to back up. Like you don't usually send people further than the pitcher line. Like that's basically the rule of thumb. But they let them pretty much go all the way up there past that. And so the other class is like, you know what? Fine. We'll do that too. And basically just gets in the people's face and are just like,
Really good arc. But for me, the point where I'm like, oh shit, I love this. It's the PE teacher, the harassment teacher arc.
Yes.
That is the moment where I was like, this show is for real. And I tell everyone who's reading, it's like, you got to get to chapter 50 or so. I think it's like episode 10 or 15 or something in that line. Nagisa was an okay main character, but that's the point where I'm like, oh, Nagisa is really cool, and I really like him.
That's when you're like, oh man, this main character is really good at murdering people.
yeah. I think that's a point in the story where they're like, oh shit, he's talentless. His talent is actually assassination. There is no place in the world for a talent like this, young man.
That's when they realize, oh shit, we're actually nurturing this child's ability to kill people.
And it's a very good. I do recall them addressing it. I do recall him naturally getting into his teacher role with time. Mm-hmm. The way they play Nagisa, I remember him having a tragic backstory with his family.
Oh my god. That was the moment where I was like, okay, I understand his character design now, and it's so good. Like, they go in, and turns out that his mother has been, like, using him as, like, her, like, conduit as another life for herself.
Yeah.
And it's literally just been like, oh, you're going to be a girl and everything. You're like, okay. I'm glad that this gag paid off to be have some serious tones to
I
it.
wonder which came first. You can never tell. But like the fact that it comes together in such a cohesive way in the end, you gotta love it.
Yeah. And I want to talk about the ending because, like, I think Nagisa becoming a teacher and, like, and taking on that classroom at the very end really punches home what the whole, like, the other layer, the adult side of the theming to this show is, or this story is, and that is, like, you have to, like, love someone to death even if they're going to kill you, you know? Like, that's the only way to make them better. Like, if you just, like, love them as much as you can, put all your effort into them, as much as they hate you, like, you just have to love them and they'll come around to you, essentially.
Wait, hold on. You have to love someone for them to kill you? What are you saying, Joe?
Like, so at the very beginning of the story, all the students are like, we're going to kill this teacher. Like, we're going to. And then he puts all of his effort and acknowledges, like, yeah, you should probably kill me. But, you know, I'm going to put all my effort into teaching you and being the best goddamn teacher I can be to teach you everything.
Boy, is he.
Yeah. And, like, it really is coming down to, like, the people that are the most hateful towards you. the people that are hateful and like are resentful against the world around them are probably that way because someone just hasn't loved them enough in their life to really know what it's like to be cared for. It goes back to the good place where it's like the people in your life are the ones that make you a good person. It's like they've never had someone in their life that really cared deep down for them to make them that good person. And like it really drives out, and especially with like it happens to Karmasuma and Miss Vitch, and like they really learn to like love these kids and be a part of their lives and like enjoy the experience of making them grow. And that's like a huge point of like
seeing those two teachers come around was also very fulfilling in the way you said.
Yes.
I just saw this picture of you with Tentacle Girl as fucking John Wick.
It's Keanu Reeves.
Good memes. Let's do some closing thoughts. Tyler, hit us with your closing thought.
Kono. Oh,
Konosuba is a very touching story.
Assassination Classroom, probably one of the most unique and like best animes, mangas, whatever.
Oh, what a unique premise! It's so
it's great, man. Like, there's no like, oh, I know what you don't go into this watching like, oh, I know what this is gonna be about. It's like, no, this isn't kids. This isn't your typical slice of life kids at high school thing. Like, nah,
I think it's thematically rich. It really is.
I think everybody should give it a chance. Big opinions on that. Like, just give it a shot. If you haven't watched it yet, it's wholesome. It's got some good action, some good comedy.
Definitely think if you're reading manga, you should definitely like give the anime a shot. Like, I watched the first episode, I was like, this is really well made, and like it really understands the story that it's telling, and it helps that the story was complete and had an ending in mind.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not too long. It's only 50 episodes.
Even if it moves through stuff fast, it touches on everything. That's important to mention. It does get every plot point in there.
I didn't even know I was missing things actually from watching the anime.
It's brief stuff. It's like you're eating your burger plain, but it's still a really good burger. Yeah, and I know you like your burger plain.
I like pickles and onions sometimes.
Ooh, well, you miss some onions, I'll tell you what. My final thought, actually, one thing I wanted to bring up. Koro Sensei's backstory, he's such a different person from who he became.
Yeah.
That didn't always sit right with me. There is the line where he's like, I want these tentacles to make me weak. I want to be a flawed person. And that's why he became the goofy person that he is.
It goes back to that cycle that I was talking about the person having a person that loves you enough to make you a better person, because he has the woman who's just, I forget what her name is, because I can't memorize Japanese names at all.
You really
who
can.
is just like, I enjoy talking to you. I want to know everything about you, and I want to like be there for you. Like, I'm the only person you talk to, so I might as well be that person for you. And he gets that connection. He understands what it means to be human.
But even right before the transformation, he's still his serious, super badass self, God of Death. I would have liked to see a smoother transition. I would have liked to see him get even goofier while in the cell. Just kind of like kind of going insane a little bit from isolation. He becomes a little closer to Koro Sensei, and then the tentacles take his mind all the way in. That's the one thing I could have like really changed about anything. Aside from that, my final thought is I really love this series. Koro Sensei, like I said, is one of my favorite characters in anything. He made such a good impact on me as I was reading it. It really goes through with its premise, and it explores many themes and what the premise will allow it to do, which is all I really can ask for from a series. So, big thumbs up. Definitely, I'll agree with you. It's like a 4 or 4.5 out of 5 kind of thing. 4.5 Koro Sensei heads with the circles on them, which is when he's happy. Cool. Joe, you got anything, or should we?
The only thing I want to talk about was that polishing is a really good theme and a really good like saying that they use throughout the entire show. Or because it's like, you know, we're making you, we're not changing who you are, we're just making you better.
Yeah.
Where were we on One Piece?
We were on 953. Hi, welcome to the Freakin' Ucast.
Hello.
Tyler has gone. We are going a little long today because we got the Freakin' Ucast. We had a healthy podcast, but we got to keep going. because we haven't talked about One Piece and Jojolion in a hot minute.
And man, is One Piece hot?
Yeah, let's go a little bit faster today, but let's touch on all the important stuff.
All right.
953 is the chapter where we really find out about the Bridge Bandit.
Yes.
So let's see what's popping here. This, I said we were gonna go fast, but man, this picture of Kawamatsu crying when he realizes Hiyori's gone, is very sad. Kawamatsu and Hiyori's backstory is very cute. I forgot the whole thing, but he took care of her after Odin died and Toki sent half of the crew in the future. Kawamatsu had to take care of her, right? But then he went to prison.
Right. So like this flashback we're getting is like is interesting because it's like right after the battle and then right before he gets imprisoned, essentially.
Right. Yeah, it is right before he gets imprisoned, I think. So, what did you think about this twist with the fox? It was introduced this chapter, but we have seen this Bridge Bandit before.
Right.
In general, I think the relationship between the fox and Kawamatsu is very cute. But I was left with a very big question mark on what the fuck I just witnessed at the end of the chapter.
I think, like, this is just kind of like a mystical fox of Wano kind of deal. I don't think it's a devil fruit fox. I think it's something that's part of Wano that it's just hasn't been explored yet and probably will be talked about at a later date.
I hope so. It's definitely a kitsune, shape-shifting fox.
Yes.
So I guess, but like, it can talk when it's a human.
Well, they're intelligent. Like,
yeah.
But like, I think the big thing about it was that he becomes this bridge bandit thing to scare people off more than like a fox could ever. Because like,
that works more for me. For some reason in my mind, I was like, oh, and he really never showed his shape-shifting powers to Kawamatsu when they were together. But I guess, like you're saying, he took this form to become scarier, and I think that works a lot better for me when I think about that.
And I think like the other reason is that I think it's easier to say, oh, there's a bandit that lives on the bridge, don't go there, versus, oh, there's a fox that lives there, he's annoying. Like, because the fox realizes he can't stop Kawamatsu during this flashback, and he learns to like go with him and he understands him. So he's just like, I have to be stronger, so I have to be something that could fight a person or scare people off. This isn't doing it, kind of deal. And he takes like the image of Kawamatsu, who disguises himself as a bridge bandit, like with the exception of
that's true.
So it's really an homage to him before he gets captured.
You fixed all my issues with this chapter.
I did it
in 3 minutes.
I am now Oda.
And there weren't even serious issues. I actually really like this now. Now this is a really nice story. Now that I think about it. Also, Zoro gets a strong sword.
Well, he's told he's going to get a strong sword, but yes,
the only sword that has ever
cut Kaido.
Cut Kaido. Yeah. And over here we have like Zoro remembering that Moria is the one who stole this sword when he stole Ryuma. This is the chapter also where we find out that. So now we're switching on to 954.
Yes.
So law broke out in this chapter, right?
Like that was the craziest thing to me because Hawkins, we have been talking about the whole time, is unkillable.
Yeah. Like, or he's unkillable as long as he has fodder around.
Right.
But he imprisoned Law in sea stone cuffs and then let his prisoners go. So he was a man of his word there, even though his fighting style is kind of cowardly.
Yeah.
Where the whole deal is like, you can't kill me because you're just going to kill up to 20 puppets before you get to me, you know?
Yeah.
So it was nice of him to let him go. So the way this works is someone let Law go. Someone released him, and that's how he was able to get the hit on Hawkins here.
Right.
It all happens off screen, but it also brings in a good mystery.
Yeah. So here's another thing. No, they're not. Okay, never mind. I thought for a second, like, there's this panel right above where we see Hawkins, like, cut in half of the prisoners, but then I realized that's outside in the public prisons that everyone can see in.
Yeah, this seems to be inside the, like, more torture-y chamber areas of the prison. So what's our guess here, right? I feel like it could be two people.
I think it might be X-Drake.
So yeah, my strongest guess is X Drake. One guess is Kyoshiro because he's clearly so sketchy this arc. You know, like
Yeah.
there's so much going on with him. Let's read what he says here. If letting me walk part is part of your plot, then consider me a willing participant.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason in my mind, I was like, he's showing a lot of familiarity to this person. But he's really not, I guess. He's just like, clearly this is part of your plot, and I'm gonna take this up.
X Drake, because to me, that's the only person that's thinking like, okay, I have to I have to stop Big Mom and Kaido or whatever from doing whatever's gonna happen, and I have to like basically be the Marine inside man.
Yeah.
I have to work with Law in order to get better because he knows Luffy and Law are like the only other two people that probably have a chance to help take down these, at least Kaido. Like
Yeah.
at this point, we don't know, but yeah,
I'm hedging it on X Drake, but I'm not cutting out Kyoshiro from
yeah. But that's another one that like I can really see happening. But the thing is like we haven't seen enough of him for me to like.
That's why I feel like it's him. So they've changed the port that they're leaving on, and everything's kind of going well here. They're getting all their ducks in the ponds. Luffy's doing his training.
This is essentially the last chapter of everyone like getting together and like project managing about what's happening.
Yeah,
and like this chapter felt like it happened like so long after 93 because there was a break between like those two.
93. You mean 43?
Oh, is it 40? Yeah. No, 53. Sorry,
yeah, 53.
Yeah.
There was a break between these.
So it was just like
this was a really good chapter to come back to because it was really moving the plot along. With the biggest review at the end, first of all, Apu shows up. I don't think he was in this arc up until this point, was he?
Where is he?
He's on, for me, it's page 13 and 12.
Okay. Oh, is he the musician guy?
Yeah, Apu, the musician. Yeah. He wasn't here before he gets here. We find out of an alternate way into Wano. We get this review of the numbers.
Right. So back in Thriller Bark, at the very end of that segment, we see these like mysterious looking tall things in the cloud with glowing eyes. And I think that was the numbers keeping an eye on Moria and by some distance to like keep track of like where he was for some reason or another.
This is a big dick prediction right here. And I hope it would be cool because one thing that's always ate away at me is what the fuck were those things in the shadows? And my friend Gus, you know him, he's like, oh, it's part of Japanese mythology. You're not supposed to know. It's like a thing. So it doesn't translate well, but it's like, this is One Piece. He would not put that there if we're not supposed to know, and I gotta know. It's so mysterious. If it is these things, that's really cool. That's really interesting. The question is, does Kaido care enough about Moria to have spies on him?
Well, maybe.
Moria is building an army to take out Kaido, but would Kaido care?
I think
it feels like he killed all of Moria's crew. That's their backstory together, and that's why Moria resents him. But it really feels like maybe they were kind of rivalistic at some point. But it's clear that Kaido has far surpassed Moria in strength.
It could be that he's afraid of Moria because he has like maybe the one ability that could stop Kaido, which is severing his like soul essentially.
He would like that.
But yeah, it's true.
He wants to die.
Yeah, Kaido does.
I believe he wants to either. It's hard to tell because we've only seen this aspect of him once. He wants to either die in battle or commit suicide.
Yeah.
And maybe like Moria's too much of a punk bitch for him to let him do it. Hard to say.
But like, the other reason, do we have a reason why Kaido killed his entire crew?
Kaido just kind of does that. He destroys crews, right? He will bully you into submission. He will kill your whole crew if he must. That just seems kind of like his character. He will poison children with Smile. He will torture Killer and make him into a shattered version of himself. He sends Luffy to the prison by saying, man, this kid has a lot of kingly deposition, but let's iron him out. Let's crush his soul. so that he can work for us. He's just kind of that kind of character. He's very much a bully.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's that.
Could be like he just wants to make sure Moria never gets back up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean that's part of like crushing your soul kind of thing.
And it's just, yeah. And I think to me like that this is the best shot we have to those being these things because I don't know, because I want it to be.
Well, we were wrong about Big Mom helping Luffy, so we'll see if this one works.
Yeah.
By the way, Big Mom and Kaido team up. That is the biggest fucking what the fuck.
It's also the worst thing that could possibly happen in the history of One Piece.
Yeah, it's not just for this arc. This is like historically the worst thing that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's the return of the Rocks in a way. Like this many dangerous people teaming up together.
Mm-hmm. And that gets we have the next one, which is Inma, which is the final chapter of Act 2.
Yes, this was a really good one. It's a lot of Zoro hype as he gets his new sword. Mm-hmm. He's able to tame it, casually slicing mountains. He's training with Momo. He's explaining Tsunachi. They're still talking about the number deficit. The number deficit is worse than they think here, because they don't know that the armies have teamed up. Here's a potential plot point that could ruin this arc. Luffy hasn't gotten back yet. He's about to at the end of this chapter, more or less. There's a time skip where they're together now.
Right.
If Luffy did not tell them that Big Mom is in the island and then they're surprised that she's there, I'm going to be mad at Oda.
Are you going to be mad at Luffy? I would see as a thing that Luffy just forgets about it.
Chopper is there. Raizo was there. There is zero excuse for them not knowing that Big Mom is in Wano. So I hope when she shows up, they're like, right, so we thought about this, and they flash back to what their strategy is. Because right now, it really seems like they were going to sail into Onigashima and just hope Luffy got strong enough to kill Kaido. And now they're going to do it again and hope he's strong enough to kill both of them. And it's like, I hope that you guys have had some real strong strategy sessions in the meantime.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, did you watch that Mr. Morge video I sent you? Because
which one?
There's two really good ones.
Oh,
one about
I didn't watch the video one. No, because it was 40 minutes long and it was late when I finally saw it. I was like, I don't want.
You have to do it. You really have to.
Last night I watched the movie 6 of One Piece, which is really good.
Watch that video. It'll make you appreciate Wano as a whole more. Yeah. Also, it's gonna make you appreciate shooting Maru more. There's also a really good Blackbeard one that he just released.
So here's like big bold prediction that won't come true. Are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
That it's Orochi, right? That's the name of the new Logan. Okay, just want to make sure our names are correct. Orochi is actually Dinjero. And they don't know it. But
how does this work, Joe?
I don't know.
Joe, listen to the words coming out of your mouth. Denjiro is clearly Rockstar from Shank's crew.
Yes. No, but so I feel like part of me thinks that there's not a trade out. It's just he knows how to read their symbols somehow, you know?
There has to be a traitor. We'll talk about it at the very end of this chapter. I just want to talk about these panels of not the 9 scabbards, because they're not all there, but they're mostly there. And then there's also Shinobu and Momosuke. Mm-hmm. The wording and the prose here as they're walking through the scorched land and they're ghosts without a master. This is going to look fucking epic in the anime. Even the anime can't fuck this scene up.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna have the Walk to Arlong Park music or something like that. It's gonna look great because this just gives me badass vibes. Like this would be in a Toonami promo. 9 swordsmen walk through the desert.
Yeah.
It just gives me good vibes all around. Near the end of this chapter, Luffy's definitely mastered his advanced hockey or whatever, or he's getting there. Orochi found out about the port switch.
Right.
Let's talk about this traitor. He has to exist. Because he's been talked about since Zao. How were they able to track Raizo? How did they know he was in Zao, but they didn't know exactly where he was?
Right.
How did they know about Komurasaki? All we know is that Kyoshiro found the paper, but we never saw a scene of them decoding it. It's supposed to be undecodable. And that's when Shinobu and Law are talking about traitors, and Shinobu's like, maybe they're in your crew, and your crew squealed, and that's how they got into their fight.
Right.
This traitor exists. I think we need to throw out some predictions right now.
We talked about this like earlier, like just kind
Yes.
of like while we were just playing Monster Hunter, but like I think it's either Shinobu, which is the ninja,
Yeah.
or it's Iori. Like
I could
but
see
the-
Hiyori. I am laying down. I'm drawing a line in the sand on podcast, so it'll be fermented in the world, so people can call me out on it. It is 100% not Shinobu. She's a red herring.
yeah.
She got mad at Law, and that's the main reason why people think it's her. It's also her affiliation with the ninjas, but we'll see. That
The thing
is
about
that is
ninjas,
one
though,
good point for her. But
in history standards, ninjas are actually incredibly loyal. Like
I mean, she
They-
left the ninjas to stay with Odin. She was part
Yeah.
of the ninja squad.
that's true.
And it's like she's a character who is arguing with Law. I think she has valid reasons because she's had to wait 20 years, so she's on edge. But everyone's like, "Oh, she's such a bitch because she's arguing with the character we like," and everyone loves Law.
yeah.
It feels so obvious that she's a red herring to me. There's two more characters it can't be. There's actually a couple. It cannot be Raizo because Jack was looking for Raizo. It cannot be Kinemon. He is the main person of this whole operation. It just cannot be him. Just on a storytelling perspective, he's the protagonist of the like Wano side of the arc. He's like the
He's
main
our
character.
VP, essentially.
It cannot be cat or dog because they both got tortured horrendously. But it can still be a mink because not every mink knew that they were in the giant tree. That's where Raizo was. So they might have known that being a mink makes sense because that's how they would have been able to find Zao. Zao's not supposed to be able to found unless you have a Viver card. Not even a log pose would work. It has to be a Viver card. So it could be one of the minks. So right now, for me, it's between Sicilian, who we see in this chapter for the first time in a long time, with Wanda's crying, Karish is kind of standing there awkwardly, and Sicilian just looks angry, which is weird.
Yeah.
Maybe like he regrets his choices that got Pedro killed. I don't know. Or it could be Kanjiro, who's been with Kinemon since the start. We will see. I am planning on one day going through a deep dive, starting from Zao, with a spreadsheet of every criteria that the trader needs to have to make sense, and then we're gonna see if it is possible that someone fits all the criteria, or if it's Oda fucking up for once. But I doubt it's that. All right, 9:56.
Big news.
Big news. Back to the reverie, man. We haven't got to talk about the reverie.
Yeah.
Is the reverie like top 5 arcs in One Piece?
Pretty good in
It's-
terms of like its storytelling.
I mean, what more do you need, right? It's world building. A lot of Garp interacting with Shirahoshi and the king. Garp is just a great guy. I've grown to like him more and more as time goes on.
Especially after these 2 chapters.
Yeah, these are big Garp chapters. You get some stuff about. You get a really good Morgan segment, where he shows his news integrity, where all he cares about is the sensationalist news, but he will not bend to your will. He cares about putting the news he wants to put out, but he will not put out the news you want to put out. He's not going to take a paycheck.
He doesn't want. Yeah, basically, like I can definitely tell from this interaction that he's more than happy to take a bribe and like put his story up, but he's not okay with taking a story out that wants to put in. Like that's my takeaway from this is that yeah, he's a very morally gray character, but like oh man, this is my front page story. Nope, you're not touching it. Like
He's got a moral code of his own.
Yes, he's very like lawful neutral, if anything.
A very talking about Oda being a god at just dense information in one panel. This one panel of how Morgan's ship works is just such a good world building segment because it completely explains how he gets the news out and how he moves from island to island and scoops up news reports.
Yeah.
He also has a bunch of birds on his ship that flies, so that's how he's able to send the seagulls out to find pirate ships and stuff to drop the news in.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just tell all that from one panel.
Also, Wapol.
Wapol has a secret.
Yes.
I talked to you about the secret.
We already know.
Yeah, I saw this on Reddit and it makes complete sense. The secret is even something simple. It is simply that Queen Vivi, or Princess Vivi, was on the Straw Hat pirate ship as a pirate. It's that simple secret that totally lines up because she was totally there and he totally recognized her. And we know this with certainty because Bradley went through this arc very recently, so it's fresh in our minds because we talked about it. That is enough to sink her completely.
Yes. It basically makes Alabasta like an enemy of the state against the world government, and puts and basically puts her like in the crosshairs like O'Hara was in terms of like, oh, we have to get rid of these people because now they are associated with these criminals. Yeah. And it gives them an excuse for invading Alabasta again, which may or may not have Pluton.
Yeah. We still don't know the full story about Pluton and Alabasta, right? And it's got to be there because you remember when Im-sama, when she was like stabbing at the picture, she was stabbing at Shirahoshi and Luffy and Vivi.
Right.
Luffy because he's a dangerous will of D. Shirahoshi because she's a weapon. Why Vivi though? She has to be a threat of this level, so we can assume that Alabasta truly does have the Pluton.
Mm-hmm. Or they have the poneglyph that at least tells you where Pluton is.
Yeah.
And enough for them.
I cannot wait for Frankie to build the Pluton for the Straw Hat Army.
And then go to the moon.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that one day. Jesus Christ. Fucking space rabbits, man. Yeah. The Revolutionary Army is freaking out.
Yes.
Now, why are they freaking out, right? They're trying to verify something. We find out some other things. Dofi's cracking up. Dan is also crying. Why would she be crying? So, she could be crying if Sabo was dead. Right. Same with Makino is also crying. What I think happened is there's some news here that there was an assassination attempt and there was a murder, right? Both happened.
Yeah.
The murder, Sabo must have been blamed for the murder or he committed the murder.
Right.
And the assassination attempt will happen but didn't go through. I don't think they're linked. They would have just said it was an assassination, not an assassination attempt. Right. So what I'm thinking, and it's a pretty common theory, someone killed Cobra, and Vivi was the assassination attempt. He got killed in the crossfire.
Yes.
It got blamed on Sabo. Everyone's crying because it's like, for the revolutionaries, Sabo would never do this. For the people of Goa Kingdom, it's like, man, Sabo is not. It hurts us to see that Sabo would kill someone like this. Where has his life taken him, kind of thing. So I feel like their reactions make sense.
Right. So there's an interesting thing that we didn't talk about in person, and that's what Blackbeard is saying.
Yeah.
If Navy's only going to take it, I might as well claim the prize, which, is interesting.
If the Navy's only going to take it, this feels like a weird translation, but if the Navy's only going to take it, I might as well claim the prize. If the Navy's only going to take the prize, I might as well claim the prize. I don't know what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
He could be talking about scooping up the warlords, which we can talk about now. The warlord system got...
that might be it, actually. That makes a lot more sense. But it's weird in context of seeing everything else unfold.
But it doesn't make sense. If the Navy's only going to take what, the warlords? It doesn't make sense in context.
If you think about it, the warlords will only... take the they'll only bring in the warlords, but they can't claim the prize on the warlords. Does that make sense? But he's also a pirate, so that kind of absolves him from getting that prize.
Oh, maybe it's if they're gonna arrest the warlords, I might as well claim the prize, which is their devil fruits.
Right.
That could be it. He's super into that.
Mhm.
And yeah, Warlord system is revoked. We find out that X Drake is a fucking Navy, dude. That is big news.
Big news.
He's a Navy who became a pirate to infiltrate the Kaido pirates to double cross them as a Navy man still.
Mhm.
And that's how the Marines get into Wano. That is such a well built scenario. He and Kobe are both members of Sword, which is, I guess, the Navy's shield.
Maybe, yeah. This might be like some. So here's big twist of what Sword is that that's Garp's personal secret Navy force that he hasn't told anyone about.
Nah, it's not Garp's. No way.
You don't think so?
Garp is not secretive enough. He's not like a big thinker like that. I like the theory more that it's Aokiji's.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And Aokiji's currently also undergoing undercover.
Yes, that makes a lot more sense.
And I mean, and Sword could be an infiltration of some Marines are on the inside, and like Kobe's like X Drake's handler.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting into Yonko crews.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, so maybe someone is like Aokiji is getting into Blackbeard's crew, and like maybe someone in Big Mom's crew is also a Sword member.
Mm-hmm. Well, the only people that we know from the worst generation that was in Big Mom's crew was Beige, right? That's his name.
Yeah, Capone.
Like, and he already attempted assassination attempt. It was like, I'm done, and left.
It could be one of her children, though. Is there like a child that left home and then came back?
I don't remember.
I think they've always stayed there, so I don't think this theory
It's
holds
either
up.
you stay there forever or you leave forever, from what I've seen.
Yeah, you're right.
Like,
Once you cut ties, they're cut free.
no, they're still gone. There's a Fishman Island. There's like a mermaid, but like they're gone too.
Yeah, it's in Jinbei's crew, Praline.
Yeah, but she's gone. Like
Yeah.
she's not part of the crew.
Yeah. Man, I hope Jinbei's alive. So yeah, Boa and Mihawk are about to go on a feast. So is Weevil.
Mm-hmm. Or are they?
If they did not pack warlords into the ship, these people are going to get killed.
I think Weevil's fine.
Weevil's fine. Mihawk's fine. Boa's fine. They're all fine.
I don't think Boa's fine.
Dude, Boa, you said Boa would die. You're fucking nuts. You're actually high.
I'm high all the time. I don't know. Boa of all of these is the ones that seem like the one to get captured and punished of all the ones that we've seen.
No
like,
fucking way.
Mihawk is small enough. Mihawk is one person. He has no one to care for. He just needs to get on his boat and leave, basically, if things get rough. Weevil hasn't done anything the entire story for something to happen to him. Boa has her entire island. She literally can't leave the island and get escape. She has her crew members. She has a lot to lose.
The crew can abandon the island.
But she also has all the other Amazons on the island, too.
Yeah, they're part of her crew. They'll leave with
I
her.
don't think so. They're not. She takes over the island. Like, there's an inheritance they have to go through. Because remember, she disguises the back of her with the sons and everything. There are people that just live on the island.
They're strong enough to fend for themselves, though. They have really strong hockey. She's fine, dude. She's... Expect to see her in the Straw Hat Fleet in T-minus 150 chapters.
4 years from now.
All right, 957.
Oh boy,
big dick time. I love Akainu. I think he's a really cool villain.
I love this color page.
This is a very good color page. I saw a thing of Oda drawing this color page. He did it digitally.
Yeah.
He's very good at. Wow, this is such a good color page.
Mm-hmm.
The big things with this is, so we've known about the Rocks Pirates for a little bit, but I don't remember. I think they have been mentioned in the manga. But they might have also been V-Ray card stuff, so that's why I might know them more than you did. Anyways, I knew that all these pirates were in the Rocks together.
See, I didn't. I know in 907 they mentioned the Rocks Pirates, but I don't remember them saying anything about it.
I know at least for a fact that like Big Mom and Kaido were in the crew together, and I don't remember if I knew that Whitebeard was there. That might be a surprise. The Rocks Pirates are led by Rocks, or what's his name? Zaber D. Rocks?
Rocks D. Zabek.
Zabek. Whose goal... His full name... one of the rare. So he's a D.
Right.
They talk about his ideals at one point, and like his ambition is to be king of the world. He was
Right.
so ambitious,
Which is different from King
and
of the
he
Pirates.
broke too many of the world's taboos.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so messed up that like the pirates themselves don't talk about it. So like even like the Yonko that were in it, they don't talk about. The Marines of the time don't really talk about it until it's really needed to know. So this was clearly a very strong crew. It had Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido. Why was Whitebeard
Even,
there?
like,
Was such an ambitious man. It's weird, right?
Mm-hmm. Especially because like they talked. One of the things they talked about this crew is that the crew would literally kill each other. Like they would climb over each other, like in Baroque works, and like kill each other and trying to get ahead. Which is not what Whitebeard is about at all. He is very much like, you are all a special person in my crew. You're my family. I'm your father. I am going to care for you.
I can only imagine, like, Whitebeard started off by wanting to get money for his village. So he could have done this, but eventually maybe, like, this could have been the scenario where he saw, like, real grit with Garp and Roger, which fought together. You have to assume it wasn't just Garp and Roger. Like, Roger's crew was also helping out.
Right. But they were definitely, like, the two key players in that.
Yeah, for sure. And then he saw some real grit in them, and then maybe that's when he started reevaluating his life. I think that would make sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me is why Roger and Garp would fight to protect Celestial Dragons when this chapter even goes as far to say that Garp was never an admiral because he hates the idea of working under the Celestial Dragons. So what the hell is that all about?
Right. And also this does a really good job of like building up Garp more to being that like kind of legend, like great person that we know, and like that one line itself makes you realize that Garp is not like hype, like does not see as the Marines and world government as the end all be all like good thing. Like he thinks that this is the way it should be done, but he knows there's problems with it.
Yeah.
Like he
could be the leader of Sword, I guess, but I still don't think he's the secret type.
Yeah.
I feel like the Sword is something where like Akainu and Aokiji are both in on it, and like they didn't leave on bad terms like we might have thought they would have, you know.
Nah, I think they did. Like I think to me like they have really two big different like viewpoints.
Ideals.
Yes, Akiono really is just like you gotta straight up destroy them. And how do you say Kozen's?
Aokiji and Akainu. Oh, you're making me say things wrong.
Yeah,
Suguri.
Yeah. But Kozen is very much just like he has his own moral code, and he's just like, I know when something is crossing the line.
Yeah.
And
lazy justice.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, big bounty drops.
Oh man, great bounty drops.
I'm very excited to see more about the God Valley because like there has to be the God Valley disappeared. A lot of people are meeting at Wano. Why were they defending the dragons? Like they had to be defending them because if they didn't, Rox was going to get his hands on something that was world breaking or like some information that was world breaking. So we'll find out, right? I don't have much to speculate on now, but like the bounty drops were fucking hype as shit.
Yeah. The bounty drops are definitely like the more fan servicey part of this chapter.
Oh, I love bounty drops.
Yeah, but like we know that Luffy now has like a ladder to climb. There is still like a little bit more he has to go above and beyond.
If you ever needed a sign that we are in the end game of One Piece, even if it's an extremely long end game, this is it. Yeah, this is something Oda has held to his chest since chapter 1. Chapter 1, dude.
Also, another big thing that we figure out here is that Shanks has only been a emperor for 6 years.
Yeah, I read somewhere that the Vivre card said otherwise, but I'm glad that they're wrong because that would make no fucking sense.
Yes, because Shanks that makes a lot more sense in terms of the whole storytelling and him losing his arm.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
I do like how Shanks is also the lowest of the original 4. And that Big Mom and Kaido are close to each other. That Kaido's currently the most dangerous man alive, aside from maybe Dragon. Now, I think Dragon's going to have a bounty of like 5.4.
Yeah.
I don't think his should be higher than Roger's, but he should be the highest alive. That's my stance on it.
I do like so yeah. So the big thing is Roger is definitely like our kind of all might in game like power ceiling kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Power. I say power ceiling with quotation marks. It's
Yeah.
our
Threat ceiling.
yes, because that's the highest any pirate's ever gone. So Luffy has to go beyond, and people have pointed out before that 556 or 5.6 is Gomu
Yeah.
in Japanese, like gum gum. So it's like, oh, very obvious where we're going here.
So that's the only reason why like Dragon cannot be above Roger, because then Luffy can't end on 56. So there you go.
Yeah.
If you needed more evidence. That's a lot of One Piece, but that's some good fucking One Piece we had. That's also more chapters than usual.
Yeah. Well, we took a week off, and then One Piece decided to not take a break.
And it's also not on a break now, so I am
Thank God.
excited. I'm excited to start Act 3, which is probably...
I'm hoping that one more Reveri chapter takes a break, and after the break, start Act 3.
Nah, homie, we're starting Act 3 next week. Believe it.
Oh.
There can't be more, Joe. I've come too much. Like there can't be more. We need to get back to the normal.
I'm running
story.
dry.
I'm running dry here, Oda. All right, folks. Jojolion time. Little late because we were at Disney, so we took a week off.
Yeah.
We didn't want to spoil these things in front of poor Bradley.
Yeah, it was just gonna be awkward, and we would probably stay up like a little bit too late for the poor soul. But this chapter is really good, and really like is really accentuates what JoJo's is all about in terms of those big brain plays.
We might go a little fast just because we're going a little long tonight.
Yeah.
But like I love this chapter. I've said this before. Ever since like ever since like Mother and Child, Jojolion has been consistent 5 out of 5s for me. I have not loved a single one of these chapters since then.
We're definitely like getting closer to that end game now, and like this chapter does a really good job of re-solidifying like Josuke's like motivation in life and what he's trying to do and why he's doing things, which confuses the hell out of
Mamasago.
Yes, because I don't think he knows what's up with Josuke and being two people, if I remember correctly.
There's certain things in JoJo's where it's like, did y'all talk about that off screen? Especially this part, because there's a lot of secrets going on.
Yeah. He's very confused about what he's saying. Like, he doesn't understand it. So it seems to me like...
It feels more like, I don't understand how you could be so brash.
Yeah.
You know, Mamazaku is very self-preservative. We can just jump into it. They're in the police car, right? And Josuke realizes what he has to do. And he has a speech that made me recognize why I love this character. Because it's been a while. Because, like, it's not even unfair to say, but, like, Josuke hasn't gotten a lot of screen time lately. And it's not a negative thing at all, because the chapters recently have focused on, let's think about it, like, it's been a Yasuo and Mitsuba chapter, and then you get a lot of...
we have Jobin
and Tsurugi chapters. You get Norisuke stuff. You get some more Yasuo stuff. You even get some Rai stuff this chapter. You get a lot of Head Doctor and Tooru, which we'll see later this chapter.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm pretty excited to talk about the Tooru part, because that was peak Araki.
What the hell are you talking about?
What the fuck are you talking about? But, like, we get back to a really good Josuke chapter here. And he reiterates... So, I feel like a lot of people have missed what his character arc is. Like, I watched X4 talk about it, and I feel like he never understands Josuke in general.
Yeah.
But, like, this is how I've understood his character. He's just saying it, like, a really neat way at a really good time right now.
Yeah.
Where... He's Mamizaku-san. My name is Higashikata Josuke. That's the name I use, but that's not really my name. It's just a temporary name. And no matter whose memories you search, even if you check the police, there's no records of me. So basically, I don't have an identity. I don't know who I am. And
I understand him. And he goes in like he's like, I understand these two people, but that's not who I am anymore.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have to be my own person. I have to find my own identity.
Half of my body is one person's. And not even my own mother would recognize me. But he's like, Holly did something for both sides of me. and if I can get this Rokakakaka and save her life, not only is the Rokakakaka proof of his existence, like it's how he was born.
Yeah.
It was the grafted Rokakakaka, but by saving Holly's life, he feels like that will cement his place in the world. Now,
And really, and also kind of allows the two halves of him to really like come together.
yeah,
Because that's the one thing they were driving to do was we have to save Holly. That was the one thing that bound them together. It's what motivated them the entire time. So it's like if I can, it's almost like a relief of a curse of like if I can do this, I can complete what I was doing before and become my own person.
if you recall the very first chapter, maybe the very first lines of Jojolion, it's not "My name is Koichi, 15-year-old. You don't have to remember." This time around, it's like this monologue that ends with, "This is the story of curing a curse."
Right.
And this whole time, you have multiple curses. You have the Higashikata curse, but you also have the curse of Holly, where she's dying. So you could see that as a curse. But I like what you just said, where like there's also another curse that could be cured, and it's the curse of Josuke's lack of identity and how that's been plaguing him ever since the midway point of Jojolion at like
Especially
the 50s.
because like with the introduction of Tooru, the only person that he feels like he has a strong connection with and really appreciate him in his life right now is Yasuo, and he feels like that's being stripped away from him.
Yeah, man, that's so good.
Yeah.
Sorry for yelling, but I just love it. So essentially, Josuke has the big brain play to run out of the car, and
And
he
they
gets
tell
fucking bodied.
Yeah, and he tells Doggy Style, I can't pronounce names.
Rai, you can call him Rai. It's the
Yeah,
easiest one.
Rai. That's his name. Thank you. That's why I always called him. He tells Rai, like, don't chase after him. Don't worry about it. Just give up, and that's it. And just throws himself out in the rain. And fuck, man, this is some like 4D Galaxy chess shit.
It's so good. There's for one, it's a really good play because you're unconscious and no longer chasing the doctor. So
Right.
it's a good guess to say that the stand effect will not activate.
Right.
God, what a cool stand too. But another really good part of this is Rai. Wait, he yells, "Wait, Josuke!" And he's like, "Josuke!" And he throws out his doggy style to at least try to stop some of the rain. And even if it just doesn't do very much, the fact that he showed so much emotion towards Josuke is a really big far cry from how we met him. We
It
met
also
this.
completely changes his motivations and intentions, like
Yeah.
immediately. He's not trying to like get Josuke in to help him with the pursuit. He is just trying to save Josuke, and that's his only focus.
And it's showing that he cares about Josuke, which is very clearly like you saw that video. Back on the topic, real quick, of the curse, right? We both watched that video that like just makes Jojolion even better, talking about the themes of like how Josuke could parallel Akira and parallel him taking over the family, so he could become the new head of the new leader of the Higashikata family because he's already planted all those seeds. It could be that he thinks saving Holly is the only way to get an identity, but the story has also set itself up to where fully integrating into the Higashikata family, who has taken him in, is also another way for him to cement himself, and also cementing himself through Yasuo, so cementing himself through all the relationships he's built throughout the arc, not just Holly, but everyone that he's met, is a good way to form a fully fleshed Josuke Higashikata.
It's also a good like reverse of the previous Kira, who basically didn't want an identity and just wanted to not be noticed by anyone.
Yeah.
Whereas Josuke now wants to be integrated and wants to be part of people's lives and wants to have his own identity and personality.
Rocky might be actually thinking this time, and I'm
Yes.
excited. So back to Rai, right? This shows an inversion of his original goal, which in the very beginning of Jojolion, he's very self-centered. He's like, Josuke, if you chase after Yasuo, you are putting both of us in danger. I'm going to throw her off this ski lift because that's the way we're going to get this stand out of the way. And now he's over here like really, really genuinely worrying about Josuke, and there's no doubt about the genuineness of his worry because the rain stops being an attack at that point, like you said. So he might go to chase after Josuke, and I don't think the attack will happen because I think his intentions will be pure for checking up and wanting to assist Josuke, not necessarily getting the head doctor.
Right.
Onto
And
the onto the
so
good
the-
shit though.
we have to talk about the big brain play here. Is that Josuke knows if he gets injured, they're going to take him to a hospital.
Right.
And the nearest one is, in fact, the hospital the head doctor's at because they literally just came from it.
Right.
So
Big brain.
it allows him to get closer to the head doctor again and set him up to where he can be there and not be in a pursuit, but be in a position to
Well,
get there.
he'll still be in a pursuit once he starts acting up, but at least it won't be a pursuit with the rain.
Yes.
That's too dangerous. So it'll be back to like umbrella stands trying to destroy his knees and shit.
Mm-hmm. Which is still fun and will probably be a great, like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, alright. Tooru on some fuckboy shit.
Oh, God.
You say God, this is the best.
Well, no, I
love
say
this.
God because it's like... It's one of those things where Araki's building up a mystery to something, and you're just like, what is going on in his brain?
He's like, hey, remember that time you talked about electricity? And Yasuo was like, I said that? And he's like, you don't remember? You said it, and like, I thought you were a goddess for saying something that smart. So then he's like, that gave me an idea for wireless chargers. And I sent the patents over, and the Chinese all laughed at me, which I was like...
No, everyone but the Chinese.
No, the Chinese laughed at him, but everyone else was like...
That's right, yeah.
Everyone was like, by the way, buddy, this already exists, you dummy.
Yeah.
And then he goes on a tangent from here where it's like, that was a point of my life where I just had a lot of anxiety about doing something worth it. I had a lot of anxiety about my future. So it seems like a complete tangent, but to me, the thought process here is like, I was like, man, that thing Yasuo said was really cool. I could really cement myself with this idea of the wireless charger. Shit, I am a dumbass for thinking that was a good idea. I am back to thinking about how aimless my life is.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, this quote is interesting. And the character of anxiety has a partner called anger that he always shows up with. I had all this anger at myself. I couldn't think anymore, and I just wanted to disappear from the world. I couldn't even face you for the longest time. So basically, just thinking about how aimless his future is the reason why he left Yasuo. So this is his way to crawl back in. He's like, you remember how we stopped talking even though we allegedly were dating? It's still so weird. It's like, this was why. It was all part of myself. I forgot about you being a goddess, but I'm ready for you to be my goddess again, basically. Like, let's date.
Yeah.
And then, like, right as he's doing the move, Paisley Park is able to find Mamizaku before the rain started.
Yeah.
When he was going to the store, which he said he was. I like how he's just doing his weird Mamizaku pose as he's walking through the store.
I think he's trying to steal from the store. I think
he might be this little fucker.
Yeah.
And then they're gone because no one can find the Lamborghini tree.
Yeah, because it's above all the
Paisley Park is so freaking OP. She can just do anything electronic based.
God, she's so cool though. Like,
Yeah.
and that's a great representation of like a millennial girl's like superpower.
Yeah, yeah. I
Of
think
just
that's.
having access to all this information, able to find it. Like, it's such a cool stand.
I mean, speaking of, like, a lot of people are like, "What does the stand do?" And like, it's hard to say with Araki sometimes. He's been pretty good this part, but then sometimes he's like, "All right, it has a new power." He's done that with Tsurugi, where his power gets incrementally stronger. He's done that with Yasuo.
Yeah.
Basically, the way I've always seen her power, it's clairvoyance through technology.
Yeah.
So and some minor hacking. So it's both. So this is a clairvoyance of like find Rai, and the through technology part is through the lights and the cameras and stuff.
And then also has the ability to like because it can figure out the information of the area that it's in. It can like give her the item nearby. That's,
Yeah.
Like which
was the first time we saw it really manifest was clairvoyance through technology. It was using a phone interface to find items for her. So I still think that explanation works.
Yeah. And it's funny because if you try to explain this like power or stand on paper
with the doors, and we're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Araki did not explain it well, in my opinion. So as she's like finding it, conveniently Toru's like, oh, by the way, you were looking for the head doctor? Here's a fucking picture of him.
Yeah.
And then the stand attack starts, and that's where the chapter ends. That is such a good ending. One, the head doctor is revealed in a complete anticlimax, which I love. Two, he looks so cool. Three, we see him with Mitsuba, and she already seemed to imply that she knows him.
Mm-hmm.
And four, this clearly feels like he intentionally did it to get the attack to start. Because he's like,
I don't know.
I think so, and here's why. Like, the timing is so weird, right? Because she's like, she looks at her phone, she finds Rai, she's able to go find them. She probably has some information to relay to them because she's probably been doing some research. And now that she's really looked at the head doctor and put in her mind that's like, oh shit, this is real information that can attack him, the stand attack starts conveniently at that point. It feels like he planted that idea in her mind to start the attack. That's
Maybe,
my view.
but then it's once again, what the hell is Tooru doing?
I don't know. Why does Tooru have a Josuke hairstyle?
Yeah, and the thing is like, Tooru would then know that the head doctor has a stand, right?
Yes. If what I'm saying is what happened, then yeah.
Right. So, like, once again, stand users attract other stand users. That probably means he has a stand too.
Yeah. Or
So
not. He feels like a red herring character too.
Yeah.
Because everyone's let's lay it on the line right now, right? Tooru being the head doctor, that's stupid, right? We both fall on the same page.
Like, they're like, oh, it's the same person. And it's like, no.
And they're like, the head doctor's an illusion. No, motherfucker, he's here with Mitsuba. He's like, the receptionist at the hospital knows him. He teaches lectures. You're telling me an illusion is teaching lectures?
And then that Tooru goes to every lecture class he goes to his office hours.
Tooru doing motherfucking office hours. Get out of here with that. If that is the case, then that's a dumb. Araki's really gonna have to work to make that one work for me, but I don't think it's the case.
The other thing is that he's a rock person.
Yes.
That's big.
Yeah.
Like, and it doesn't make. I can see Tooru like being related to the head doctor in some way. I don't think he's the head doctor. Like,
I'm at the point right now where I think my Tooru theory is that he might just be a good guy. Because he's helped them out a couple times, but he always touches Yasuo and makes it seem like he's making her remember things that didn't happen.
Right.
Is that just a red herring by... I don't like that then, because it's like, why does she not remember him at all?
Mm-hmm. And like...
And when he touches her, she comes around to it.
Yeah, and it to me, like, he has the ability to, like, gaslight or whatever. Like, he just, like, can touch somebody and they kind of like fall under his sway.
I like the stand power of gaslighting people. That's pretty good.
Yeah, man, you call it tainted love, easy peasy.
Ooh, easy peasy, baby.
I just
now it's gonna be called Hawaiian Blue. What's Thriller? What is this perfect stand name? No hating on Hawaiian Blue. I love that arc and I love that stand.
Arc's great. And it's colored now.
But it should have been called Thriller. I think that's all I got for Jojolion.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I have. I'm really excited for the next chapter. Next chapter is going to be bopping, I think.
It's going to be kids bopping, man.
It's going to be 2 weeks on Friday.
That's so long.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how much suffering that is until the next Jojolion?
About 2 weeks worth.
Yeah. Thankfully, there's One Piece around to keep us going. So if you had to predict, I'm thinking next arc is a Yasuo. Oh, sorry, next chapter is a Yasuo chapter, and then 2 chapters worth of Josuke versus the head dog. Josuke and Rai. You thought maybe Jobin's gonna show up. 2 more chapters to actually finish off the head doctor, and then we're squarely into the end game after that. That's my guess.
I think Jobin will show up at the hospital because that seems like a good conversion points for everybody. Like, because they mentioned Holly in the Ojiro chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, oh, I have to investigate who this person is because I need to make sure I cut any loose ends.
Yeah.
And, like, to me, that's the point where they figure out that Jobin's connected them somehow and that they don't have the fruit, which means Jobin probably has it. And then there's a confrontation between them and so on and so forth.
I could see this. We'll definitely find out if it's heading that direction next chapter. Because I feel like if it is going that direction, we're gonna see some Jobin next chapter. Then.
Yeah.
All right. Let's make like Josuke and pop ourselves out of here.